The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing.com, has officially begun. It's all in control of Brad Davies in that 11 machine. Green flag flies. He's damn near banged up though. Now the 93 is going to push the 4 of Brian Day all the way up the wall. 4 wide down the super stretch point in the turn. And now the 93-39, the 3 machine goes around. Big trouble in the back. It's the race to the win up front.
Look behind him. They're 3 and 4 wide, trying to make a push to the front as the field gains speed in turn number 1. Kenny Humphrey, if he can rip it back to the start finish line, will win here at Daytona.
7 laps to go.
Oh,
As you love it.
here we go.
You love it. The 1 gets around. The 5 gets around. Big jump.
The road to $10,000 runs through the AutoClub Speedway. This is round number 3 of 17 on the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. Live here on iRacing Live, the Motor Racing Network, PSRTV, Nesson, and all our affiliates as well. Tim Terry, Tony Stevens, Joe Cortez here to call all the action for you, gentlemen. The first time we hit the virtual Fontana, California racetrack. The last week or so, it's provided some great lead-up racing with the NASCAR iRacing Series. I think we're in for a great show tonight, Tony.
I think you're exactly right, Tim. This racetrack has become one of these racetracks that you really don't know what to expect and what's going to happen. When the track was first built and first paved, it didn't have a lot of fans, but as the asphalt's worn, and of course the virtual racetrack has been modeled after this worn asphalt, it's created one heck of a show. Joe, you've got all the room in the world you want to use anywhere on this racetrack at speeds in excess of 200 miles an hour. In a way, it's almost like short tracking at 3 times the speed. It's going to be fun tonight.
This is definitely going to be a race for the ages. It's the first time we've seen the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing and AutoClub Speedway, and every time iRacing adds a new track, a new circuit to the service, it only gets better. The model gets better, the way these guys approach it get better, and you're going to see some really fun racing tonight. These guys are going to go 2 wide. These guys are going to go 3 wide, and guess what? This track can handle it. Now that they've got the groove set up here, this track has really become a premier track for that style of racing that we all love, and tonight's going to be no exception. Get ready to see these guys try everything in the book.
And when we come in here, we have a bunch of storylines to follow. And it's only 2 races in to this season. This is race number 3. We'll pop up the point standings here for you. You'll see Kenny Humphrey on top of the standings with 86 points after 2 races. He won the first race of the season at Daytona. Thomas Lewandowski has 2 top 5 finishes. He's currently 2nd in the standings. Brandon Cattell, Jake Sturgis, and Chad Lawton, your top 5. They're on back. And you see some of the notable names. We'll cover those. Ray Alfala is 20th in the point standings. Chris Overland, your Pro Series champion, is 16th in the standings. Those are the guys that are inside the top 20 right now, Tony. You got guys like Brian Schoenberg, Tyler Hudson, and Kevin King, 21st, 22nd, 23rd. Yes, it is early. Yes, they're only 2 points or 3 points out of 20th place. 20th place, of course, locks yourself into this series for the 2015 season. But then you have guys like Nick Ottinger, Alex Warren, Rich Doucette, Justin Bolton, a Pro Series winner earlier in 2013. You look back on through the list, you have Brad Davies in 36th, Adam Gilliland in 37th. PJ Sturgis has run 2 races this season. He has as many points as he does races, which means he has finished 43rd in both races to start off this season. There are some notable names that really need to pick it up, and we'll add one more little wrinkle into this per se, Tony. Leading up to this race, Brandon Cattell was on Cody Bias Racing with Adam Gilliland and the crew. Cattell left about a week ago from that team. It depends who you ask, whether left, let go, whatever the case may be. There's some bad blood between those two. One of the races at the AutoClub Speedway for the NASCAR iRacing Series last week, there was some shots fired between both of those teams. It ended up in a couple of wrecks in that race and a couple of, I guess, bent-up pride and bent-up virtual race cars. With Cattell running 3rd in the standings, Tony, I asked Adam Gilliland, I said, is it over? He said, it's over if Brandon wants it to be over.
And that's always kind of interesting when you hear drivers address a rivalry or a budding rivalry or disagreement like that, because it really makes you wonder who has the bad blood where. And nonetheless, those two starting fairly close to each other. Let's see, Brandon Cattell starts 5th, Adam Gilliland starts 7th, and Cody Bias starts 10th. Yeah, maybe we might see some fireworks before things are said and done. So that's one of the big stories as well, Tim, but also you talked about somebody like PJ Sturgis and some of those other drivers throughout the standings that haven't had the start they would so desire for the year. And guess what? iRacing announced a brand new, well, I shouldn't say brand new, an adjusted drop system this week. Joe, it's really pretty simple. Your drop has to come in the first 12, 13 weeks of the season. You can no longer use, say, your last or next to last race. It has to be used in the first 3 quarters of the year. And the only reason they do that is to help simplify the points picture coming into the final races. I think it's a good move for that very reason. We don't have to sit here and do multiple math equations. We can worry about one equation that comes down to get to the pay dirt time.
Well, not only that, Tony, but think about logically how that's going to change the complexion of racing for all these drivers out here. This is one of the few top-tier series that doesn't have a season finale. So by effectively making that cutoff point, adding that race 13 cutoff point for your drop, you effectively you've created a chase at the end of the season. You basically said, all right, wherever you're at in points, you now have the final 4 races of the season to put up or shut up. So not only does this create a much more simple application for everybody, not only does this create a much more simplified point system, but I think it also adds that chase-style excitement to the end of the season that you're really going to see the cream of the crop either rise or fail, and there's going to be no in-between for these guys.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, Joe. It's a chase mentality minus the reset of the points. That first drop comes out of the first 13 races. Then those last 3 races, which let's call a spade, Darlington, Chicagoland, and Homestead Miami Speedway. Chicagoland, Homestead have those similar traits per se. Darlington is totally, completely, 100% different from the other 2. So all those 3 races count towards your championship. You cannot drop one of those 3 racetracks. When it comes down to it at the end of the season, that's what's going to matter. You got racetracks leading into that you could drop, like a Watkins Glen, like a New Hampshire, maybe a short track like a Dover or a Richmond. But those 3 races coming down to the end of it, you have to be on your game every single week. We saw it last year with Tyler Hudson making that comeback. Keep in mind, Ray Alfalla, when he struggled last year, he struggled in those final 3 races of the season. If he were to do that this year, he wouldn't have been able to drop that single-digit finish that he had at the end of the season last year. Could it have played a little bit differently into the championship? Yeah, it might have dropped Ray a little bit deeper down in the standings when you look at it at the end of the season. So that's going to change everything. I know it's race 3, and we're talking about the final 3 races right now, but it's going to change a lot when we hit the end of the season. It could very well determine a different champion than it has been the first couple of seasons in this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze series powered by iRacing. We're approximately 3 minutes away from going racing. And speaking of the devil, look who's going to start on the pole of this race, Tony. Ray Alfalla, after having a couple of, I don't want to say off weeks, but a couple of maybe rough weeks. He's 20th in the standings. He really needs to get a shot in the arm. He's going to start poling this thing.
Yeah. Ray who? Yeah, no longer. Ray Alfalla decided now is the time to turn the wick up a little bit. Race number 3, he's had enough time just kind of screwing around. And really, he hasn't had a bad couple of races. He's just had bad results, be it from bad luck, fuel mileage, pit strategy, whatever. Ray's been in the hunt, got taken out in an accident at Daytona, had issues at Vegas when we came down to fuel mileage and pit strategy. He hasn't been slow, but I think if there's any question now, yeah, Ray Alfalla still has the speed, kind of like a Jimmy Johnson, Joe. You know he's going to be there. It's just a matter of when he's going to show up.
Yeah, but while you guys are keeping an eye on those, there's one driver that's really caught my eye tonight, and that is a driver of that Ream 05 Chevrolet, Nick Ottinger. Why do I say that? Remember, last season, Nick Ottinger was the most winningest driver on the pro circuit, the DWC circuit, the Peak Antifreeze circuit, whatever you want to call it. He was the most winningest driver of that group. Tonight, he's going to start in the top 5, and anytime he starts in the top group, he is a threat to take away the race and take away the championship Championship. Also starting in that top 5, Brandon Cattell, 3 wide, Daly himself, and Cody Bias in that group as well. So you've got a very, very stacked group up front, but I think Nick Ottinger's going to walk away with a win.
We're going to step away for a moment to give our series sponsor, Peak, a little bit of love, and when we come back, we're going to go racing 125 laps at the Auto Club Speedway.
This is where it gets difficult. This is where your name's on the line, everything's on the line. You get that one chance to go out there and put down your best performance with the most amount of pressure.
So you got to take this race car, this whole new group of people, go to the racetrack, somehow impress them, and oh, by the way, you got to do it now. It's now or never.
First thing that went through my mind was like, no way.
Just be real important to try to figure out how to keep the tires under him and run a smart 150 laps.
They might bump him around a little bit, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Everybody should enter next year's contest because you never know what could happen, man. You can come out here and run top 5 in your first K&N West race. So I'm so psyched right now. This is incredible.
Round number 3 of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing, set to go green, and on the front row, 2 Pro Geek sponsored cars, the Sim Pedals Main Performance number 2 of Ray Alfala. Going to start this race from the pole to the outside. It's the 32 with Danny Hansen.
Mooresville, North Carolina's Mitchell Hunt rolls 3rd, and Nick Ottinger from Catawba, North Carolina, will start 4th.
Brandon Cattell, the 80 machine, will start position number 5 tonight. 3 wide. Daly starting 2 wide tonight in the 93 machine, position number 6.
Adam Gilliland starts in position number 7, the lone Canadian in the series. Brandon Hawk starts in 8th.
Thomas Lewandowski and Cody Bias will make up row number 5.
Row number 6 belongs to 34, Matt Boos on the inside. The 37 is Stephen Gilbert on the outside.
Former Pro Champ Alex Warren starts 13 to the outside. Double 5, Brian Schoenberg.
Brian Day and Ashley Miller will make up row number 8.
Row number 9 belongs to Justin Trombley on the inside. PJ Sturgis looking for a better finish than position number 43 on the outside.
Teammates Tyler Hudson and Chad Lawton roll off in the next row.
Justin Bolton and Josh Lawton make up the next one.
Row number 12, Brandon Schmidt on the inside, Rob Ackley on the outside.
We got Robert Hall in 25th. 26th is Mike Conti.
Tyler Laughlin and Josh Berry will roll 28th.
Row number 15, Brad Davies on the inside, Kevin King on the outside.
Brad Mahar and Kenny Humpy, your next row.
Peter Bennett and Michael Johnson, the next 2.
Chris Overland, Brian Blackford, 35th and 36th.
Brandon Bowie, Landon Harrison, 37th, 38th.
Kwame Ajay and Trey Eidson make up the 20th row.
The field belongs to Jake Sturgis in the 41, the number 1 of Richard Doucette, and Brandon Hoff, the 23, starts shotgun on the field.
Your 2 feature winners this season, 32nd and 41st, as Ray Alfala is going to be on the hammer here. Green flag flies, and we're underway for the first of 125 laps in Fontana, California. Alfala quick to the draw, Danny Hansen quick to the inside, and Mitchell Hunt looking for second on the inside, muscles his way around in the real lucky number 19. It's like they're racing on lap 125 already, Tony.
Muscling his way around involved a little bit of, yeah, muscle on the part of Mitchell Hunt. Nearly some contact with the and the 32 of Davey Hansen, but Hansen now going to reclaim that spot as they work off into turn number 3. Look at Nick Ottinger. Ottinger trying to make the top side work on the outside of Hunt's number 19. Brandon Cattell now digging on the bottom. Here they spill off in turn number 4 for the first time. They're 2 and 3 wide back to the field. Ray Alfala decides he wants to check out as we work back to 1 once again.
Ottinger is working the high side in that 0.5 machine, but he is having no luck getting dangerously close to that 80 of Brandon Cattell. You see the 0.5 trying to pinch the 80 down. It looks like he's trying to play a little vertical chicken with him. If he can force him down low, he can make the 80 brake check and put the 0.5 back in position number 4. Cattell will not have any of that, and he's going to continue to battle for position number 4, but the 0.5 Ottinger, he might just have it on the outside by himself with no support from any other driver out here.
Oh, we got one loose behind them. That may have been Lewandowski in the 16 that nearly bought the farm off corner number 4. Now Daly looks at the 16 car for position. And keep in mind, Lewandowski, he was one of the drivers that scored 2 top 5 finishes to kick off this season. You ride with Adam Gilliland and you look up to his former friend, now foe, Tony. It's Brandon Cattell in the 80. Those two had history earlier this week at this racetrack in a NASCAR iRacing Series event. And now they run nose to tail here. So far through 3 laps, there's been no contact.
Nothing yet, Tim, but you know that Adam Gillen is going to work Brandon Cattell over, and it's probably in the back of his mind. He tells us, he tells you that, yeah, it's over if he wants it to be over, but when you have that kind of response, it never really is. And here comes Gillen on the bottom. He thought about trying to dive bomb it in on Cattell. Nothing there yet. And wow, how tight are they? In turn number 1, Cattell, I think, knows who's behind him as well, Joe, and he doesn't exactly want to get caught with his proverbial, well, drawers down.
He refuses to, in fact, almost cutting off the nose of the Gary Mercer trucking number 8 machine of Adam Gilliland. You know, it's easy to say that, yeah, it's over if they want to be over, there's no rivalry, but when push comes to shove, when you are in that situation, we're in the heat of the moment, it's never that easy to walk away, and you just witnessed just how easy it is to get yourself caught up in it one more time and find yourself right in the middle of that. Let's look around position battle number for position number 9 right here. Matt Boots of the 34 machine, the Gale Force chassis machine, battling with Ashley Miller, the 7 machine. That's for battle up.
Whoa!
And now we got a 7 car getting around. And Miller, now in a world of hurt, able to save the car. That's the good news. But the bad news is the sub-machine can be way in the back of the field and have to climb the ladder all over again.
Yeah, he started 16th, was up to position number 12, and now he's probably going to fall back here, yeah, to position 43 behind Jake Sturgis. Sturgis was running in position number 43 at the time of that little slide by the 7 car of Ashley Miller. So he's got a long way to go. He's also got a long distance to go as well as we work lap number 6 of 125. Side by side around Tyler Hudson in the 53 car as they drag race down the back straightaway. Brandon Hawk and Tyler Hudson going at it. And we mentioned a little bit earlier, Tony, that Brandon Hawk, now the lone Canadian in the series, as the Ford gets the boot behind him from Brian Schoenberg. Schoenberg shows him the bumper and he moves up 1 spot.
Action all over the track, Tim. You've got that battle there towards the middle portion of the top 20. And now even further behind them, it is a hornet's nest from about 15-16 on back. Brad Davies is in the middle of it. Justin Trombley. The 40 machine is also right there of Josh Lawton, Michael Conti, Josh Berry. These guys were 3 and 4 wide just a lap ago here off turn number 2. And it looks like things are not quitting yet, Joe. Here they go, fanning out once again. Something's got to give. This might be disaster looking for a place to happen.
Tony, I don't think that Hornet's Nest really does it justice. Think about a pit of rabid wolverines. I think that more accurately describes what exactly saw there just a moment ago. Back 1 lap ago, going into turns 3 and 4, Kevin King got the big boot, got the chrome horn from the number 3 machine of Brandon Schmidt. Now, Schmidt's worked his way up through the field, and Kevin King's got a bent bumper on his back end as a result of that. 3, in fact, actually has some nose damage as a result of getting into the 29 of Kevin King. And now those 2 drivers are going to have a little bit harder time getting their car around the track. It looks like everyone's sorted out. They're back to single-file racing. But now we know what this track is capable of. We know what kind of driving we're going to see here tonight. And get ready for some very crazy driving as we continue to return laps around this track.
Trombley moving backwards in the 17 as the 47 of Oberlin just sliced to the inside there, and this pack of cars were 4 wide going into corner number 1, just in front or behind of the 3 of Brandon Schmidt. And Tony, I want to allude to it just for a second here before this pack ends up exploding back here around this 47. You saw the nose damage on that number 3. There's a lot of damage to that race car. That could allow some overheating issues to arise in that race car. It's obviously going to slow him down a little bit. That's definitely going to need to be looked at and addressed on the first pit stop of the race for Brandon Schmidt.
Yeah, I think you're most definitely right, Tim. It is good. Well, it's not could pose issues. It is posing issues right now as he is further back through the field and dropping like a stone. Meanwhile, up front, look here. We're trying to watch the thing explode up or in the back, and we've got a lead change up front. Looks like Danny Hansen has taken over the top spot, and here comes Brandon Cattell. He'll work his way by Ray Alfala, and here will come as well the 05 of Nick Ottinger. Looks like Ray Alfala now may be in trouble. He's going to lose 3 or 4 spots here in the course of a couple of laps, Joe.
Alfala looks strong on the low side. Now you see him strung up on the high side all by himself, nowhere to go. And it looks like the 2 machine just isn't geared for that high side, for the very high walls here at Auto Club in Fontana, California. So new leader Danny Hansen up on the group. Brandon Cattell second. Nick Ottinger, the guy I called, the number I called at the beginning of the race, he's now worked his way up to position number 3. And if nothing else, he is looking to improve himself. Meanwhile, Ray Alfala trying to get low down there in the sim pedal machine. He is doing everything he can to get that machine back into the racing groove, back into the vacuum run, if you will. And I got a feeling that if he knows he can get back in there in that group, he can get back up there. 80 now loose and down in the grass.
80's going to come back up on the racetrack. Nice save by Brandon Cattell, but he goes from second, and Thomas Lewandowski. I don't know if he got into him there, Tony, or not. He may have got on the binders just enough to get off the 80 of Brandon Cattell, but a close call for Thomas Lewandowski and Brandon Cattell, 2 of your top 3 in the point standings after 2 events so far this season, and now they have to come back to the front of the field after that very close call. Brandon Schmidt is on pit road getting that nose damage addressed at this point. Meanwhile, up in front, Danny Hansen is your leader, but here comes Ottinger in the 05. Ottinger to the inside of the Ream Chevrolet. He's going to look for the lead on the Pro Geek number 32.
Ottinger on the bottom of the preferred lane in both ends of the speedway so far tonight. Hansen going to back off early, give him the lane, and here goes Nick Ottinger, just completely vanished. Connection, electrical issues, only 05 of Nick Ottinger. Remember last season, he arguably lost a championship, Joe, based off that exact same thing, and now they're beginning to rear their ugly head once again. Ottinger will hold on to the point for the time being, but you know they had to give Danny Hansen, Mitchell Hunt, and the rest of the top runners a little bit of a heart attack for a moment, not knowing when or if or where that 05 car was going to come back.
You run now in the car, inside that car 32, the Pro Geek Consulting machine of Danny Hansen. We're used to seeing Pro Geek Consulting up front, but not necessarily on the 32 machine. So kind of a different call for us here. Nick Ottinger, though, he's got to figure out what's going to go on here in a hurry. You heard him say last year, if the connection was just a little bit more stronger, if it was a little better, he could have possibly won himself a championship. Now he's got to really put it up and see what he can do. The 05 is going to lead a litany of cars around the 3 of Brandon Schmidt, and Schmidt will go down 2 laps as your leaders to get ready to go by him.
And here comes the 2 of Ray Alfala taking a peek at the 19 of Mitchell Hunt for position number 3. The Main Performance PC Sim Pedals and Pro Geek Consulting number 2 looking at the 19 for that spot. Nothing doing there going into corner number 1. And take a look back there at the 93 of Byron Daly. I don't know if we can get Ian Bushin to get a shot of the lower rear quarter or the back. Driven steering wheels now on the number 93 this season, and he's trying to drive that thing to the front of the field underneath his teammate Ray Alfala, side by side for 4th, and Byron Daly will take the spot.
So move Daly forward. Apparently that comfort grip on the driven steering wheel he's got on his virtual machine, just as good as the real ones. And that's actually really cool to see a lot more of these physical racing wheel companies get involved in the sim racing side, guys. A company like Driven Race Gear, actually Driven Race Group, I guess it would be technically, but they make steering wheels, they make suits, they do a lot of different things. really neat to see them involved. And actually, their headquarters not very far from where Byron lives in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. So really kind of a match made in heaven for that group, and really a cool company, youth-based. This is their target market. So good to see them on board as well. That new intelligence car with Driven on the back of the lower quarter panels as well, Joe.
And obviously, Byron Daly driven tonight to have a strong finish, have a strong placing out here. You see him running position number 4. Byron Daly started that car in the 6th position, and now he's all over the 19 machine in front of him. So that 19 machine might get passed here by the 93 of Byron Daly, and Byron Daly could get one of his better finishes here on the evening. Don't look now, though. Your last season's champion, Tyler Hudson, the peak machine, he wants a peak on this field. He's worked his way up now to position number 9.
And just in between them, I'm seeing a 27 popping into the picture as well. How about Cody Bias early in this race? The 27 is up on 2-time Ray Alfala for position number 5 at this point, and he is leading his teammate, the 8 of Adam Gilliland, through the field. I should say Gilliland started up a little closer to the front of the field, but he's fallen back to position number 7 just behind his teammate at this point. So the 27, we got a blown motor in front of the field. I'm not sure who that is. Is that Mitchell Hunt in the 19? Maybe Hunt has blown a motor in the real lucky 19 from position number 3. That's a, well, not a lucky break, I guess, Tony, for the 19, as everybody's got to avoid him.
Everybody so far are going to avoid him, but that car very, very slow on the back straightaway, and it looks like he might flip the pit road. No caution yet. Whoa, hello, we got one car caught a piece of him. That's going to be Ashley Miller in the 7 machine sliding down to the grass in the infield. Apparently the spotter wasn't up on what was happening with the 7 machine of Ashley Miller. No caution, but major disaster. It looks like it is going to bring out a yellow, guys. Mitchell Hunt, 20-some miles an hour probably on the back straightaway and into turn number 3. He's going to find an access road off the racetrack, so we might, in fact, actually stay green.
The 23 machine got a piece of that one as well. It looks like, just a 1-2-3 combo shot, if you will. Ashley Miller, the Miller Flooring machine out there. Not exactly sure what he was looking at or what he was looking for out there. But whatever he was looking at, he wasn't looking at the car in front of him and not paying attention to the driver out there. And that's going to hurt him. That's going to definitely hurt his opportunities out here. You're right now on the rear bumper of the 2 machine of Ray Alfala. And he is now the 2 of Ray Alfala, quagmired in that group. Position number 4 right now, but he's got a face full of Cody Bias right on his bumper.
Before we leave that other situation, as the 27 does look underneath the 2 of Ray Alfala for the position, looks like Bias will take the spot. Alfala will fall back one more. We should mention, Tony, that these drivers do have the ability to have a real spotter within the iRacing service. So your buddy, your friend, your coworker, whoever you want to spot for you can be in and spotting the race for you. We saw it a couple of weeks ago in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Bristol, where Timmy Hill plowed into a wreck and there was some spotter miscommunication there. Ashley Miller may not have had his spotter in his ear, or may have not seen the 19 slowing down from 3/4 of a straightaway behind him. Whatever the case may be, it's a tough break for Ashley Miller in the 7. And yes, Tony, they do have a computer spotter in this game as well, but it probably wouldn't have picked up a slow car on the back straightaway without that caution flag coming out.
No, I agree, Tim. Of course, the other possibility is he simply just didn't listen to his spotter. That happens in the real world, the physical world as well. You kind of tune out a spotter, not intentionally, but it does happen. And that's one of the cool things about this sim, Tim, is not only do you have the capability to drive places like AutoClub Speedway or Bristol or Las Vegas, or in the case of Patrick Scarapoli, the Team Stock Car Green Challenge winner from last year, Irwindale, and then go win a K&N Pro Series race there. That was pretty cool. We'll talk about that a little more later. But you can be a virtual spotter, you can crew chief, you can do all these different things, have a data analyst. It's a really, really cool deal they've got set up now with iRacing, with all the different roles you can play as a team member, basically. And really, it is the closest thing you can get to owning and driving a physical race car, Joe.
It is the closest thing you can get to a car without actually climbing into a car, as we've said often here before. As we said here before in the race, it is it is the closest you can get to driving from the comfort of your own home, the iRacing sim, which makes it the most interesting sim, I believe, on the market today. Nick Ottinger still in front of this field in the 0-5. Danny Hansen second. Byron Daly now in third. Cody Bias has moved up to position number 4. Ray Alfalla, position number 5. And then there's Tyler Hudson. He will not be denied, guys. He started all the way back in this field, position number 19. A few laps ago, he was barely breaking in the top 10. Now position number 6.
Yeah, he's slowly moving his way up through the front of the field, and we talked about it a couple of weeks ago as well. Tyler Hudson methodically picking his way towards the peak of this race, and the peak number 01 running right now in position number 6 as he looks at Ray Alfalla for position number 5. The two former champions of this series that are in this race this evening going to go toe-to-toe at position number 5 as they come out of corner number 4. This will complete 24 laps right here as the 01 looks underneath. Just in front of them, it's Byron Daly and Cody Bias, and Bias will go by on the outside and pick up position number 3. Hudson will pick up position number 5, and Adam Gilliland looking to pick up the bones.
Lots of comers and goers over the course of this race so far, and that's something I like about the AutoClub Speedway, Tim. iRacing's done a great job of mimicking what they can with tire degradation and how these cars basically go away. And Joe, it's all about making sure you've got tire management skills, you got something left at the end of a run. Here we are, 20-25 laps, and there you saw Tyler Hudson on the gas just a little too much. The car kicks out sideways. It's all about driver here. Yes, a good setup helps, but if your driver is too heavy on the right foot, too erratic on the wheel, whatever the case is, you're going to go backwards. This now has become a true driver's racetrack, and I love those, Joe. They put on spectacular shows.
Well, and the cool thing about this track is you're absolutely right, Tony. You have to do the math backwards on this track. You are not going to win it lead footing it all the way around. Just doing 200 miles from start to finish. Number one, you'll end up in the wall here. That's just how good the sim is. It can tell you what you can do, and the car will react as real as it does. And number two, if you don't play it backwards, you will be going up against guys who are playing it backwards, who are figuring out when their pit window is, when they need to pit, how they need to conserve. There are just so many variables that are in each and every driver's controls and every team group's controls that they now have access to in this sim. And if you're not thinking that way, you are not going to be a champion in the online arm of NASCAR's sanctioned leagues.
And just talked to Jordan Hightower, who is a crew chief of the 89 car, Landon Harrison. He said that they can go approximately 43 laps or so on the fuel here this evening. So if that is the case, Tony, we're going to go about another 15 laps or so, and then we're likely going to see drivers down on pit road as Tyler Hudson picks up one on Byron Daly to move him up to position number 4. And when I was talking to Jordan, he also said that the number 89 car is running like a beached Blue Jay right now, and it sits in position number 35. So if a beached Blue Jay drives like it should in position number 35 around Stephen Gilbert, PJ, and Jake Sturgis, Brandon Cattell is one lap down. I'm assuming that he may have come down pit road by the looks of it. And there's one of the surprises, Tony, of this season. Kevin King is running 34th right now. We're not used to saying that.
No, we're not, especially at what is his home racetrack here at AutoClub Speedway in California. I know Kevin wanted a much better run than this, and if we were 10 laps into the race, not a big deal. He's trying to pull a Tyler Hudson and drive through the field later in the run, but we're over halfway through a run, and Kevin King is, well, quite frankly, right now he's jumped, and that's not good. Don't know what's happening over in Kevin King's shop, but they need to figure something out and figure something out fast. Do you panic after 3 races? I don't know if I'd say I'd panic, but Joe, if I'm the 29 bunch, I'm concerned because we've had 3 races and 3 races where a driver that normally is a star contender has been a non-factor.
Well, I'm also going to say that Kevin King also has a little bit more pressure than a lot of other drivers here at AutoClub Speedway. In every iteration of every major race that's ever been run in sim racing, Kevin King has been a part of it. Does anybody remember the Golden Palace 400? a race that was won by, I don't know, some guy named Denny Hamlin several years ago. Kevin King was in that race. He was in the second annual Golden Palace 400. He's in the third annual Golden Palace 400. Kevin King, he is the guy that I think if anybody out here, he's the one who has got the most pressure on himself to perform out here tonight, and I think it's starting to show out here. Now you're seeing the 58 machine of Kevin Humpy. He's out there running his heart out. Humpy is just past Josh Berry in the 88 machine for position number 16, and he did it on the outside. Now Humpy's going to try to hold on to that position as he continues to run on the outside. Guys, we haven't seen a whole lot of outside passing. Can Humpy be one of the first that makes it work?
Yeah, Berry looking to the inside here, trying to pick up that spot on Humpy, and he will do so. And that's the highest running driver from that team, Tony. Humpy, Rich Doucette, Kevin King, and Kenny Humpy, of those three, is running 17th right now. Rich Doucette in the Tim's Corner Motorsports number 1 is running in 24th. And then you have Kevin King running back there outside the top 30 right now. Cause for concern? Yeah, maybe this Auto Club Speedway played a little bit of a wrench into their plans, because we saw how Humpy can run in the NASCAR iRacing Pro Series one half of the season. The other races that he did not win, he had some sort of catastrophic issue that did not put him anywhere near the checkered flag near the front of the field.
Tim,
so
Nick Ottinger just slapped the wall at turn number 4. It wasn't major contact, but Ottinger did in fact just make contact with the outside wall as he worked off turn number 4.
So now he has got a whole lot of a bigger problem behind him as Danny Hansen continues just to do everything he can to get as close as we can to make that pass. The 05 has recovered, but Danny Hansen knows that Nick Ottinger is now vulnerable, and I think Danny Hansen is just going to sit there, bide his time, and wait to strike. You see him get close there. He can strike. He's just waiting to make it work, waiting for the 05 to open the door one more time, and Danny Hansen to pick up the lead. And then guess who's behind him, guys? You'll only need, I'll give you 3 guesses, but you'll only need 1. Tyler Hudson, your points leader, now position number 3. Or not your points leader, but your last season's champion, now position number 3.
And before that pass, they were pulling away, and I say they, Nick Ottinger and Danny Hansen were pulling away from the battle for third. It's Cody Bias now for 4th as the 32 looks in the 05 for the lead position. Hansen throws it in to corner number 3, and he will take the lead position away from Ottinger. The Pro Geek Ford Fusion will come up at a corner number 4 and will lead lap 34 at the Auto Club Speedway. Ottinger back to 2nd. Tyler Hudson will remain in position number 3, but he has to hold off Cody Bias, and Byron Daly runs in position number 5 right now. One of the other intriguing battles in this top 10, Tony, Gilliland, Alfala, and now Matt Busa has put himself into the fray as well. The 34 has worked up to the back bumper, the 2 and the 8.
And a good run for Matt Busa, somebody we don't seem to talk about a whole lot, as he now is trying to follow Ray Alfala as Ray looks underneath of Adam Gilliland in turn number 3. You see him float that number 2 car in on the bottom. Gilliland can be forced to give him the lane, but the good news is Gilliland's got a longer route around. He can maybe carry more momentum, but not able to do it that time. So move Alfala now up to position number 6. Busa going to follow him right through the door. He'll move up to 7, and Gilliland now dropping backwards throughout this field. And once again, more comers and goers, Joe. Just a minute ago, I was looking to see exactly where, say, Brian Schoenberg is. He's about where he started. But then you got guys like Josh Lawton and Brad Davies trying to make their way through the field. Josh Berry is mired back in 15th. And you got guys like Hudson and Busa that are making their way forward. So this is fun to watch as this race unfolds. I don't think, like I said minutes ago, Joe, I never thought you'd see this type of racing at a track like Auto Club Speedway, but I'm so glad we do. This is great.
A lot of great racing going on at every point in this track. No yellow flags yet either, which is great, which is kind of a cool thing to see out here, because you'd expect a brand new track to have a lot of different incidents, a lot of different stuff out there. So far, so good. There's 37 laps. Matt Busa in the 34 machine picks up position on the 6 of Ray Alfala. Now up front, the lead battle continues to heat up. Hansen, Ottinger, those guys will not give up. They continue to run nose to tail, hammer and tong, mortar and pestle, whatever you want to call it. Those two really taking it away.
Yeah, the 05 is not letting any pressure off the 32 with Danny Hansen as they go at it for the lead position, approximately 5 laps away from coming down pit road on that first round of green flag pit stops for some of these leaders. And when you look at it, Tony, Michigan always proves some great racing in this series. The sister track per se, only with a little more bumps down the back straightaway. This Auto Club Speedway providing some great racing so far as well, and some green racing at that as well. Coming up at corner number 4, there's now about a car length between the 32 and the 05 as Ottinger continues to chase Danny Hansen down, and he will be about a half car length behind as they come across the stripe.
And this is something, Tim, that doesn't surprise me. Well, it kind of does and it doesn't. I'll explain why. Remember, Nick Ottinger, very loose coming off the corners, unable to keep the tail end planted to the racetrack. What that also means, the nose is planted a little too well to the racetrack. Now that they've swapped roles on the speedway, Hansen has got Ottinger all up his tailpipe, trying to free him up, and now Ottinger is taking some of that weight off the nose, and it's helping the front tires to maybe not plan as good, but it's helping to snug the race car up. So Ottinger might be a better follower right now than he is a leader, but I don't think he cares, Joe. I think Nick Ottinger wants to lead this race. He is all over Danny Hansen like a keyboard on a computer right now, because he is just trying to lambaste that 32 car with the ream paint all over the back bumper.
Like white on rice, the 05 is on the 32 of Danny Hansen, and those guys, they're not going to give it up. They're going to continue battling all night. A lot of other big names, or new names, I should say, here in the top 10, including the Plan B sales driver, Brian Day, in the top 9. Justin Bolton has found his way into the top 10. Chad Lawton, Alex Warren, a new name. Josh Berry's in the mix, and Kenny Humpy now finds himself in the top 15.
We are going to get our first pit stop of the evening in here now before these drivers do get their pit stops in. So we're going to step away for just a few moments' time, and we'll be right back.
What's inside Peak Antifreeze? 65 years of experience in hot and cold protection. From an independent, family-owned business that's never been afraid to give you exactly what's right for your engine and your wallet. Peak. Run true.
Ray Alfalla on pit road for his first pit stop of the evening. Danny Hansen continues to lead with Nick Ottinger in second, but pit stops, Joe, have begun here at the Auto Club Speedway, including the number 2 of Ray Alfalla, and it looks clean. He lights him up. He's down and away.
The 05 now picks up the lead as a couple of drivers come off pit road. That includes Michael Johnson. Ryan Schoenberg now coming off pit road. Michael Conti comes off pit road as well. Brian Blackford, Kwame and Jay both come off pit road, and now more drivers coming in. Richard Doucette coming in, Brad Mahar, Peter Bennett, all down on pit road. And now I'm being told that Doucette made contact with another driver coming on pit road.
69 of Peter Bennett came onto pit road. Doucette locked it up, and those two got a little bit of contact. Doucette got the yellow cone at the end of pit road, and a little bit of damage to both of those cars, Joe. They will continue, but they're going to spend a little bit of extra time on pit road. Second place onto pit road. It looks like Danny Hansen has taken that lead and brought it on to pit road in the Pro Geek number 32. So Danny Hansen's first pit stop of the evening will happen here.
Behind him, the four of Brian Day is now going to come down pit road. Chad Lawton, the 26 machine, on pit road. Rob Ackley, Chris Overland, the 47. Landon Harrison coming down pit road as well. And it looks like a bunch of other drivers are going to come down. Trey Edson going to make his way down pit road next time by, it looks like. Stephen Gilbert makes the announcement. And your leader still has not come down pit road. Nick Ottinger, fearless out there, as he's going to continue to run till it looks like what's going to be the last drop of the track.
36 down pit road, 82 down pit road as well. Alex Warren going to join the parade. Josh Lawton, Robert Hall among those down. Brad Davies is also going to hit his box, and he may have overshot. The 11 will have to back up, and the crew will go to work on that race car, Tony.
That they will, and Brad Davies, right side service complete. Again, more service for everybody throughout the field. Still waiting on Nick Ottinger to come down pit road, and here he comes. He'll get on the binders and make the hard left-hand turn down to 55 miles per hour. The Ream Chevrolet one of the final leaders to come down pit lane. Tyler Hudson also making the visit, as is Cody Bias and Byron Daly. Pretty much the entire top 5 now in for service. It appears to be 4 tires and fuel for each and every one of these cars. Hudson is in his stall as he started mid-pack. Bias is in. Here comes Byron Daly. And now Nick Ottinger. Service begins on the Ream Chevrolet. Crew around to the right side. Looks like 2 brand new Goodyear Racing Virtual Eagles on that machine. And they'll drop the jack ahead of the left side. So it will be 4 tires and a full tank of Virtual Sunoco Racing fuel for Nick Ottinger. Crew drops the jack. He is down and away with apparently no major penalties and no major issues. Nick Ottinger, we would expect, probably going to rotate back around to lead this race.
Incredible stop for Nick Ottinger. Perfect textbook stop for him, in, out, and along the way. Tyler Hudson comes out behind him as well. The 93 of Byron Daly and the number, and I'm being told, the 27 of Cody Bias both had issues down on pit road with their cars. I know Cody Bias overshot his stall, and Byron Daly came and just slid his car in. So both those cars, a little bit of trouble out there, and they're going to start a little bit further back than they wanted to. Nick Ottinger, though, he is the guy they want to be. Barry was your leader. Josh Barry, he's going to come down pit road.
The 88 is going to come down pit road here in the Speedco Chevrolet and get service to his race car. Jake Sturgis stays out on the racetrack. Now he's coming on to pit road and nearly buys the farm, gets the grass coming out of corner number 4. He'll get the NX number 41 slowed down. And Tony, I'm looking at these numbers right now. Those guys that pitted at the end of 42, if they continue a 42-lap stint to the finish, given this race does go green, they're barely making 125 laps. These guys that are stopping now should be comfortable at making this race on one more stop.
Yeah, you think after Vegas a couple of weeks ago, these guys would maybe build in a little bit of insurance into their plan, but, you know, without a green, white, and checker option, you don't have to plan for that. So I guess 42 laps will get the job done. It's tight, maybe tighter than you want to go, but, you know what, I'd at least like to build in a little bit of insurance in there in case something has to change in my strategy, whether I want to short pit or otherwise. Nonetheless, it's what they're choosing to do. As things cycle back around, looks like Nick Ottinger, though, Joe, going to be the leader by a pretty healthy margin over Danny Hansen. Adam Gilliland will rotate around to 3rd, Ray Alfala, and then Tyler Hudson back in 5th. So pit stops, certainly, Joe, have spread this field out for the most part.
Pit stops giveth and the pit stops taketh away, and Nick Ottinger has given the biggest gift of them all, a huge lead over Danny Hansen, over a second and some change now between Ottinger and Hansen, and that's exactly what he wants. Going back to pit stops, guys, I have to agree with you. After 2 weeks ago, when we saw Vegas, when we saw in Vegas, you saw a lot of guys really rolling the dice at the very end. Now you watch a 0-1 machine and the 2 to go side by side. The 0-1 of Tyler Hudson dispatches Ray Alfala with ease. Score the 0-1, now position number 4. I'm going to agree with you absolutely, Tony, and I want your take on this, Tim, as well. You need that extra insurance, especially in a big 2-mile D-oval like this. You do not want to be left. You do not want to be left behind. You do not want to be left there holding just enough gas. If the yellow flag comes out, if something crazy happens at the end of the race, and you got to finish it with fumes, I don't think I would feel comfortable doing that at the very back stretch, knowing I still have a mile left to go around the track.
But when you look at the end of that pit stop stint, Joe, when you look at lap 45, 46, the end of that pit stop cycle, they can go to approximately lap 90. Another 45 laps puts them at lap 135 if we do go green to the finish of this race, and it is a 125 lap event. Tyler Hudson goes to the inside of Adam Gilliland to pick up position number 3. And here's one of those drivers that really got, I don't want to say bit, Tony, by the pit stop strategy. He came back and got a top 5 finish, but he was really
trouble,
upset.
Tim.
We have caution on the racetrack.
Caution is out, and looks like maybe the number 1 machine having issues of Rich Doucette. So tough break for Doucette, and this is just what we talked about. If you want to have a little bit of insurance somewhere to do something with your pit strategy, now's the chance you might want to. Doucette, though, hard on the outside wall off turn number 4. That car just got away from him, Joe, kind of like we had seen earlier. Couldn't get on the gas the way he wanted to, and around it came.
Tony, looking back at the replay of the number 1, it just looks like the number 1 had troubles getting on the gas going through turn number 4. It started wiggling on him, and then right there at the exit of turn number 4, it just snapped on him, and he went straight nose first into the outside wall. That is going to destroy his engine. That will end Richard Doucette's night. That's a tough one, because you know Richard Doucette was trying to save that car. You know he felt like he probably could, and then just to have it snap like that at the end, that's heartbreaking.
Team was reporting as well, guys, that car was still a little bit damaged from the contact with Peter Bennett coming onto pit road when those guys had to woe it up under green flag conditions to get those things down onto pit road, and that contact did happen. Took out the yellow cone. The team was still reporting that there was a little bit of damage to that number 1 car, and it, as we saw, got away from Rich Doucette in the Tim's Corner Motorsports number 1. And another tough way to start. Doucette came into this race 33rd in the standings. These drivers were down approximately 10 laps ago, and they'll come back down here. At least the front of the field will do so. Busa will stay out on the racetrack. And Tony, we're at the point now where regardless if you pit now or not, you still have to make one more pit stop here. Is tires going to be a real big difference?
I think given what we've seen already, yeah, you want as much grip as you can get. So Matt Busa, while playing this gamble, might benefit him. He was in the top 10, and I don't see it making that much of a benefit for him. I see it being more of a losing proposition, but we'll find out once we go back to green. Now, what we may see are some drivers decide to take 2 tires in this stop. It will be 4 for all your leaders, it looks like. Ottinger 4. Byron Daly's going to take the gamble. Crew Chief Frankie Kimmel makes the call. It'll be 2 tires on the Newtelligence 4 to Byron Daly. Adam Gilliland going to be the next one off pit road, followed by Danny Hansen. Then Nick Ottinger, Ray Alfala, and Tyler Hudson. So a couple of drivers taking the gamble, Joe. And I think at this point, I like that gamble. You don't have a lot of time on those tires. Maybe just enough to where 2 tires can get you that track position you want. I don't know if I like Matt Busa's theory, though, of no tires. Yeah, again, we'll find out when we go back green, but I think Byron Daly, that might have been a pretty good call on Frankie's part atop the box to make things happen for the Newtelligence bunch.
Well, if you're going to take that gamble, if you're going to take the risk, right now is the time to make that risk. Right now is the time to see, hey, can this be a viable operation at the end of the race? And if you're going to try that, if you're going to try to figure it out, do it now. Do it when there's less on the line, and don't do it on your last stop when 2 tires could potentially cost you the race, could potentially cost you a top 5, heck, could even cost you a top 15.
We are going to step away and finish that break that we started before green flag pit stops, and we'll be back with some more green flag racing here from the Auto Club Speedway. Matt Busa is your leader. Don't go away.
What's inside Peak Antifreeze? 65 years of experience in hot and cold protection. From an independent, family-owned business that's never been afraid to give you exactly what's right for your engine and your wallet. Peak. Run true.
Welcome back to AutoClub Speedway and the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. Still working caution number 1 of the evening. Matt Busa has chosen to stay on the racetrack. And after pit stops, Joe, it's a little different at the front of the field. Busa and Daly with 2 tires. Same with Adam Gilliland, Danny Hansen, and Nick Ottinger. And we're going to see, we're going to take a look on board here. It looks like from that accident, and things got a little crazy back there towards turn number 4.
Things did definitely get a little crazy. You run on board with Steven Gilbert there, and you see him just barely get out of that, make sure he was able to escape from that, and keep that car running in the right direction. Steven Gilbert getting might be getting the close shave award of the race, but it's hard to say. 1 to go. They are double filed up. Matt Busa in front, Byron Daly, Danny Hansen, looks like Nick Ottinger, and Tyler Hudson going to be your top 5.
And Tony, we talk about the season that Rich Doucette has had, and I don't want to be the sponsor that has to buy the virtual motor. Oh wait, it's Tim's Corner Motorsports on that car. We'll have to come back.
Buying it anyway.
Yeah, that.
I will have to come back in 2 weeks' time and see what we can do with that one. The next race, by the way, if you're looking for a programming note, 2 weeks' time from this evening, April 8th, at the Texas Motor Speedway, round number 4 of this series. And you want to talk about 3 distinct racetracks that we're visiting next. Texas, Richmond, the short track at Richmond, and then we head to the Tricky Triangle at Pocono for rounds 4, 5, and 6. So there's 3 different racetracks from what we're racing here this evening. Should make for a very interesting stretch to the 1/3 mark of this 2014 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing season. Matt Busa in the 34, set to put the hammer down here with Byron Daly to the outside. Pace car is off, and here we go. Look at Ottinger already looking to the inside before we even go green. 34 is on the hammer, and now the 8 and the 05 keep a half eye on them on the outside line as they get trained on the outside. 32 with Danny Hansen to 3rd.
And up front, look at Daly. Daly making a bid for the top spot to the inside in turn number 1. 3 wide. Daly doesn't need quite that much real estate on the inside. Oh, and here he goes. Hero Daly losing off turn number 2. What a save by Byron Daly. Danny Hansen now will move to 2nd as they're 2 and 3 wide behind Hansen for the 3rd spot. And into turn number 3, here we go once again. 2 by 2 from 3rd on back.
3 wide, Daly is going to make it. 3 wide, now goes 2 wide. Josh Berry, Brandon Hoff around him, and that is going to be some very, very scary moments for all of those drivers. Good news is they're able to figure it out, and they keep going the right way. But Byron Daly living up to his name out there, making it go 3 wide. Just got a little aggressive through the turn, able to get less aggressive here. And I think he's learned a very valuable lesson about those tires. Adam Gilliland now gets out of line way in the infield. He's going to get back in line, but it's going to cost him 4 positions at best.
Yeah, the 8 of Adam Gilliland does the same thing Byron Daly does. Gets a little bit loose and slides down, and look who he's in front of. It's Byron Daly. Battle for the lead. Here comes the 32 of Danny Hansen to the inside of Matt Busa, and Busa will possibly lose the lead here to Danny Hansen in the 32. 34 fighting back. He will take 2nd. Now the 2 will look at the 34. The 05 right up on the back bumper of Alfala.
Look at those cars dance across the lack of grip out of turn number 2. You saw Ottinger dancing on the exit, same with Alfala. Now here we'll go right to the inside of Matt Busa. I'm very impressed on the part of Matt Busa right now. He's been able to hold on this long in front of the field. Now that car is in a 4-wheel slide, Joe. It might be it might be short-lived in the front of the field for Matt Busa, but nonetheless, first 2 laps after that restart, very impressive, and really even same for Byron Daly. Daly's back up into 8th after that slide for life with Adam Gilliland not too awfully far behind, well, technically right in front of him. So really those slides didn't hurt those guys that bad, and I think that might be something to put in your cap and maybe think about later. You can make a late pit stop on, say, a 20-lap-to-go run.
But more importantly, as you run along the rear bumper now of that 26 Eugene Chad Lawton, see the champion Tyler Hudson right in on that rear view camera. The more important thing you guys are seeing right here is the value of tires versus no tires. Remember, everybody in that group in front of him has 4 tires. The 34 of Matt Busa has no tires. Byron Daly only took 2. So now you're just very physically seeing on the track the advantage that four brand new Goodyear Eagles will have on each of these cars out here. If you have the new tires, you have the grip, and when you have the grip, you can make these cars dance. Up front, the challenge for the lead.
Yeah, here comes Alfalo to the inside of Danny Hansen, and he will take the advantage. Now, where does Hansen fall? Because Ottinger is going to be there on the inside, and Chad Lawton is lurking in position number 4, as is Tyler Hudson. The two teammates looking at the 32 car for position number 3. And then you have Gilliland, you have Busa, and you have Daly back there as the 32 on the outside. 26 going to try to stick that nose underneath. But guys, keep in mind, we keep talking about Busa, we keep talking about Daly, we keep talking about those guys that are on the different tire strategies and guys that slipped. As Ottinger looks at the lead on the outside of the 2, almost some contact down the back straightaway for your leaders, and Ray Alfalo lets him go, maybe a little too close for comfort for the former two-time champion, as Ottinger going to go up to the lead position. But just to complete that point, those guys that are on those tire strategies that went for those slides, they were within the top 10 before they made those quote-unquote gambles, Tony, so they're about running where they were before that caution flag.
So really nothing lost, and that's a good thing if you can gamble like that. Sure, you'd love to gain, but as long as you don't lose, that's definitely a win. So as we said, something to put in your notebook and maybe think about as this race wears on. And here comes Adam Gilliland now, looking underneath of Danny Hansen. That's going to be a battle for the 5th spot. Daly right there in his bumper as well. Danny Hansen, early leader of this race, and really been a strong contender all night long. He's been caught on the high side, and that appears, Joe, to not be where you want to be running, as Hansen has proven the last couple of laps. No grip up there for the Pro Geek Consulting car. Of course, maybe, just maybe, he could be conserving a little bit as well.
Conservation could be critical. When you look at tires, when you look at fuel, that could be critical to maintaining a top 10 spot today, but ultimately getting you back in that top 5 or ultimately in the win. As I talked about earlier in this race, if you're able to conserve, if you're able to figure it out there, you might be able to make it work and figure out how to make the track work to your advantage, especially towards the end of the race. And you see, I think, some of that going on here on track. Matt Busa now gets around the 32. You watch it from the rear bumper of Byron Daly, who's now position number 7, should be position number 6 when we cross the start-finish line. And look who's back in that group now as well. Josh Lawton's in the group. Kenny Humpy's in the group. Josh Berry, Justin Bolton, all in the hunt for the top 10, as almost contact being made between the 40 and 32.
Yeah, it got pretty close back there between those two. Is the 58 now looking underneath the Josh Berry machine, trying to follow through, as is Justin Bolton trying to make that move on the 32 with Danny Hansen. And it seems like the odd man out, that outside line, it's dispatched Byron Daly back, it's dispatched Adam Gilliland back. Well, after the slides, the 34 went back on that outside line, but he didn't go as far as Danny Hansen is going, because Danny Hansen is going outside the top 10. It's just a matter of where he lands outside of that top 10. Back up front, it looks like Chad Lawton is going to go at it. Tyler Hudson and Ray Alfalo going to do a little dance at position number 2. It's a three-way, and it's going to put the 26 up to position number 2, as the 01 of Tyler Hudson going to try to make the 3rd place out of this three-way, Tony.
Hudson's going to try on the bottom, and yes, it looks like he'll get the job done. He'll slide it in, and now he'll slide out into that 3rd spot. So Tyler Hudson going to be the victor of that quickie as they work up turn number 3. So move Alfalo back to the 4th spot. And really, Chad Lawton pretty impressive here as well right now, Joe, as he's showing a little bit of muscle now, trying to close in on Nick Ottinger. But I wouldn't count out these other guys behind him as well, as you've seen over the course of these runs. It's that rubber band effect you always seem to get at a racetrack like this.
Definitely a rubber effect to be sure. Some of these guys trying to figure out how they're going to, conserve gas, conserve the tires, and really set themselves up for a later run. We call this playing chess at 200 miles per hour, and that's exactly what you're seeing here on track. You cannot beat the guy in front of you just by sheer force. You cannot beat them into submission. You can't beat their will. So you have to play chess with them a little bit. You have to position yourself in the place you want to be, so that when they make a mistake in front of you, you can pounce and you can take that position and ultimately solidify yourself at the end. Remember, the race is not won on lap 67, it's won on lap 125, which we are rapidly approaching.
Justin Bolton pulled out of line, but he pulled out of line because of a little bit of a slide at a corner number 2. The 80 of Brandon Cattell underneath, and I'm hearing smoke somewhere from up here, Tony.
Looks like Brandon Hawk, the number 53 machine, up the racetrack, and possible issues on the RacerBoost.com Chevrolet of Brandon Hawk. Substantial rear-end damage to that car. It appears to be earlier in the night, but it looks like that car is not under full power. And the question is whether Brandon Hawk can make it all the way back to the pits or at least get off the racetrack before a yellow flag is displayed. Tough break for Brandon Hawk. I know there's some big surprises coming from his sponsor, Racer Boost, or meeting his family, but I can't exactly say what they are yet. This is not one of them, however, Joe.
This is definitely not the one they wanted, let's put it that way. Right at the back, at the very tail end of that back stretch, that engine just finally gives out. It almost creates an accordion effect for Cody Bias, Alex Warren and company. Cody Bias now has some severe front end damage on that car, and that is going to hurt him. Meanwhile, back up in the group, we have a new second place runner, and that is going to be the 0-1 of Tyler Hudson, who gets past that car in front of him, Chad Lawton. He gets past him. So an Ottinger now up front. Tyler Hudson second. Chad Lawton third. Ralph Allen fourth. Gilliland, your top 5.
The 2 and the 26 are going at it for position number 3 as they come up at a corner number 4. We have 69 laps completed. 2 underneath 26 at position number 3. Nothing doing at a corner number 4. And guys, the report from Mitchell Hunt and Brandon Hawk on the same team, they're running 50% tape on these race cars. A little bit aggressive with some of the setups that they have, and we mentioned a little bit earlier, you get a little bit of nose damage like Brandon Schmidt did, it's going to affect the airflow into that race car. Not sure, I don't think the 53 or the 19 had any nose damage to those race cars, but it could very well have happened as the 2 looks underneath the 26 again going into corner number 3. Something we're going to have to watch here, guys. Guys getting aggressive on the tape setups.
Especially as we get later and later in the race, Tim. If you've made it last for, 2 runs and maybe you get a late caution, you might see a couple of guys throw another piece or 2 of tape on there to see if they can get a little bit extra speed for that long, or I shouldn't say long, for that short run at the end if, say, a caution comes out with 15 or 20 to go. But the flip side of that is, yes, you run the risk of blowing the thing sky high. And I can't say it's a bad risk, really, if you're a Mitchell Hunt or a Brandon Hawk. I mean, they were fast and almost, the 2 of them, it lasted about a whole race, almost. Kind of, well, yeah, not quite, Joe, I guess. So, but I guess they know where the line is later down the road.
Well, I think this is going to be a very valuable learning opportunity for them, especially when they consider going to the other 2-mile deal in Michigan. I think they will have learned something here that they can definitely take away and get going in that race. Ottinger Hudson breaking away from the rest of the field. Alfala in the group. And now Matt Busa on the older tires trying to get around the New Intelligence Ford of Byron Daly. Not going 3 wide that time by, but Busa gets the job done. He'll now be in position number 5. And now it looks like it's going to be 26 of Chad Lawton. Gets way out of line. Josh Lawton going to try to suck up right behind him. And now, as you look at the webcam now of Chad Lawton, he's going to have to settle for about position number 7. Hansen gets around him. He gets the assist. Chad gets the assist from Josh. Now Josh is going to block Kenny Humpy, and things are picking up here in the big of the group.
You've got the 8 on the 2 in front as well as Adam Gilliland looks at Ray Alfala. You continue to see that battle back there as well between about a half dozen drivers around position number 8 as they come off corner number 2 and work down the back straightaway. The leaders up in front, it's Ottinger and Hudson. Hudson continues to close in on the 05 car as we work to complete lap number 73 of this event. Will come by this time and complete the 73rd circuit. The top 2, Tony, like we've seen before in the first green flag run, they're trying to pull away from the rest of this field, only this time it's Ottinger and Hudson.
Yeah, the names are different, but the result is, well, at least one of the names is different, but the result is the same. They're starting to distance themselves from the rest of this field with 50 laps to go here, just a lap and a half away from that mark. We're getting closer and closer to the window that is now open when you cross that, let's say about lap 80 mark or so, Joe, where you can come down pit road, and I'll be interested to see who, if anyone, decides to short pit it and try to play it from the back of the race, or who actually tries to stay out and wait for a caution flag. Only one so far. Of course, now we've jinxed that, I'm sure, but we've seen pit strategy win a race already this season. Why not 2 in a row?
And again, if you're going to play the strategy game, if you're going to be playing that chess game, this is the place to do it, because you do not want to be running out of fuel. You do not want to be running on fumes at the very, very end of the race when push comes to shove. I think a lot of guys out here were expecting a race littered with caution flags, littered with caution debris out there, if you will. But so far, very clean race out there. Only one yellow flag. And I don't think anybody was really prepared for that. You're right in the bumper now of Matt Busa, 34 machine. He gets around Ray Alfala with ease. The two-time champion drops to position number 4 in that 2 machine. And now he's going to have to get back in line. And I've got a feeling we're going to see pit road get a very, very busy here in about 5 laps or so.
And keep in mind, guys, we keep talking about guys needing to turn around their seasons. Out of the top 5 drivers right now in the race, the driver that's highest up in the standings is 4th place, Ray Alfala. He sits 20th in the point standings at this point. So there's some guys within the top 5 that could really use a great run here. They just have to close the deal in the second half of this race. Byron Daly sits in position 6 in the standings, and he sits in position 6 on the racetrack, as well as the 34 of Matt Busa leads this train around. As you see the replay of a car getting loose there, and we've seen a lot of that here, Tony.
It's all about this tire degradation, and I love it, Tim. I've said it 3-4 times already. I love it when it comes to driver's race, a driver's racetrack, and you've got to finesse the car. You can manhandle it to an extent, but you really have to be up on the wheel and on top of that razor's edge. You can't be leaning too far one way or the other, but this is what racing is supposed to be, where you are on the ragged edge the whole time, trying to make lap after lap after lap after lap and go forward. And it puts on one heck of a show to watch these guys. Just watch those cars dance, Joe. When they come off the corner, they're so easy on the throttle. The wheels are back and forth. They're swatting flies from the butt hit almost. That is how on edge the cars are.
Car now smoking out of 2. That would be our 3rd destroyed motor, and that is going to be Cody Bias. He had some heavy front end damage as a result of that other car going down. He just ran straight into it, and that front end damage ultimately is going to take out Cody Bias as well. So Bias on the losing end of that proposition. He's going to make it down to pit road under his own power, it looks like. But Cody Bias in an Elwood Designs Chevrolet, his night for all intents and purposes is done at this point. Back up front, it's getting dicey.
Little wiggle at a corner number 2 for Nick Ottinger, and it's Tyler Hudson all over him. He looks to the inside in corner number 3, and he will take the advantage. Tyler Hudson in the Peak Ford, gonna go to the top of the board on lap number 79, and Tony, that's all it takes. Just one little wiggle at a corner number 2 for Nick Ottinger. Tyler was there, but Nick had to open the door in order for Tyler to get underneath and make that pass without, using a bumper or something along those lines. Hudson makes the clean move, and he moves to the lead position. Now the question is, can Tyler Hudson pull away? Keep in mind, let's back up 2 weeks ago. Tyler Hudson had one of the dominant cars in the race. He fell to a little bit of pit strategy. We do have one more possible green flag pit stop coming up in this race. I don't think anybody's going to be able to stretch it. Well, nobody's going to be able to stretch it to make it to the end from here. But that green flag pit stop could very well haunt a couple of our front runners if it does happen.
Yeah, Tim, it very well could, but like you said, the good news is everybody has to pit. If somebody like a Jake Sturgis were to make it the rest of the way, I'd be ripping their computer apart, finding some sort of extra something that's not supposed to be there. So we know it's not going to be a matter of if you have to pit. However, it could be a situation of when you have to pit. So we'll see how that all works out. Of course, when you do come down pit road, Joe, a lot of it's up to the driver. Well, in fact, most of it's up to the driver. Getting on and off pit road, imperative to success in green flag pit stops. Of course, if you're out front like Tyler Hudson, it's a little bit easier to make that happen.
Josh Berry improves his position on the number 26 of Chad Lawton. Berry now trying to continue to improve his position from position number 8 in that Speedco machine, trying to get around 3 wide Daly. I've got a feeling it's going to use all 3, even maybe all 4 lines of racing here at Auto Club Speedway to make his point across. The window is now open as the 26 machine now gets loose. Chad Lawton almost loses it. He's trying to maybe look at the replay out there. We were just bringing it up and able to rescue those. The good news. Bad news is it's going to cost him a lot of position. Brandon Cattell, Justin Bolton, Josh Lawton, Kenny Humphrey all get around him. Back up front, the battle is heating up. Guys, the window is open. So now the question is not what if you're going to come down. The question is more when you're going to come down. And Tyler Hudson, Nick Ottinger locking horns here. I think they're gonna try to play chicken all the way to the last drop, see who's gonna be the first one to drop the hand out.
Yeah, if you're running this race backwards, you can pit now and make it to the end on fuel. If you're running it from about 52 or so, as Ottinger continues to look at that 01 for the lead position. A lot of these leaders, except for Matt Boos and a couple of others, pitted at lap 52 on that caution flag. Yeah, about 45 or so, because you included a couple of caution laps in there. You can make it to about lap 95, thereabouts, give or take a couple of laps, and that would be your final stop if you're running it that way. Danny Hansen looking at a spot on Ray Alfala. He'll take position number 4 away in the Pro Geek Ford Fusion. So I'm thinking Boos is probably going to be in, Tony, about now or so. We should see him down fairly soon. Everybody else, it should be about 10 laps or so, give or take, before we see them down.
And this is something I think that Matt Busa probably did and didn't want to see. I think it's good for him because now he didn't really lose anything. As here you see Adam Gilliland peel off the racetrack. He's going to short pitch a little bit based off of his strategy. He'll get it down to 55 miles an hour, and Joe, he nearly lost control of that race car when he decided to turn left, but Gilliland now decided to short pit. He'll take full advantage of those 4 brand new virtual Goodyear Racing Eagles and see exactly what it can do for him. And oh yeah, his friend Brandon Cattell, who's being scored a lap in arrears, also going to come down pit road as well. Wonder if they're trying to have a meeting of the minds on pit lane.
Brandon Cattell looks like he overshoots his stall, but somehow makes it work at that weird angle. The aid of Adam Gilliland now going around for more tires on his car. Brad Mahar is down on pit road. Michael Johnson, Tyler Laughlin have all come down the attention of their crews, looking for the exact same thing. 4 tires and a full tank of fuel. Meanwhile, back up front, what could be a very critical lead change just happened. Ottinger up front, Hudson now in second.
It'll move Busa to third, Hansen and Alfala, your top 5, as Byron Daly, Josh Berry going at it as well, back there at position number 6. But as you mentioned, Ottinger back up front, Tyler Hudson to second. We'll see who comes down this time. Brian Day sticking the hand out the window, Rob Ackley, Brian Blackford. We could also see Byron Daly possibly down at this point as well. Here comes the 93 car, going to whoa it down to pit speed. Justin Bolton also going to head to pit road as well. And Tony, this pit entry, very key. Adam Gilliland was looking at the tires at the end of pit road when he was coming down to pit road. He nearly lost it on pit entry.
He did, Tim, and I think he's very thankful he was able to hold on to it because that could have been ugly. But yes, big round of pit stops here for all these cars. The most notable of which, Byron Daly now on pit road, the new Intelligence Ford. He'll come to a stop in his stall. It appears it's going to be a 4-tire stop for the number 93. Remember, he took 2 on that last yellow flag. His hand is pretty much forced here. He is going to be forced to take 4 brand new virtual Goodyear Racing Eagles, full tank of virtual fuel. He is down and away. So Byron Daly will rejoin the action, and it looks like Josh Lawton and all others also going to be making their stops and rejoining the race.
So now pit strategy all over the place. Everybody making it work for them, making it work for what's right for them. Brian Schoenberg, the 55 machine, now going to come down. Josh Lawton down on pit road. Brandon Hoff now coming down to the attention of his crew. A couple other drivers still announcing they're coming down pit road. Meanwhile, back up front, Ottinger stays out. Hudson stays out. Matt Busa now in third. Hansen fourth. Ray Alfala. Your top 6 have not come down pit road. 7 when you include Kenny Humphrey. So your top 7 drivers, no se bueno pit road yet.
And there's a couple of guys out here. I'm surprised Matt Busa, Tony, has gone as far as he has on the fuel in that number 34 car, because he was a little bit shorter compared to everybody else that came down on that caution about 8 laps or so after he made his first pit stop of the evening. So he should be down momentarily onto pit road as well as the other drivers. And keep in mind, when these drivers, some of these drivers are short pitting, they have to take more fuel. These drivers that are staying out on the racetrack can take less fuel. It's less time on pit road, so that might play a little bit of an advantage too if this thing does go green to the end of the race.
Trouble! Caution is out, and this throws everything out the window. Thomas Lewandowski, trouble off turn number 4. Him and the number 23 machine. It looked like he and Rob Ackley also caught a piece of it. It actually occurred, Joe, when Lewandowski was trying to avoid the 23 car of Brandon Hoff, who had already been on pit road, and it almost looked like Hoff kind of had the car get out from under him. He was trying to save it. Lewandowski tried to pick a lane, and then Rob Ackley got into Lewandowski, and the two of them made contact, causing Lewandowski and Hoff then to spin. And if you're Byron Daly, if you're Adam Gilliland, oh my, that is not what you wanted to see, Joe.
Oh, mama, that is going to change the complexion of this race. That is really going to change it all for all these guys out here. 10 cars will easily be out of sync now. And up front, what was a potentially a game changer for Nick Ottinger has just been neutralized. So it wasn't a changer for Tyler Hudson, has been neutralized. Guys, you look at those two drivers, they were betting on everybody else coming down pit road. They were betting on being the last two drivers down and having that huge advantage of everybody else to battle for first and second amongst themselves. Now, as a result of that caution flag, they are not going to have that liberty, and everything that you built up to this moment has just been thrown out the window.
And a nice avoidance by Landon Harrison through that wreck as well, and Jordan Hightower calling in the adjustments for this pit stop to try to make him a little bit better on the racetrack, as Landon Harrison runs in P12 right now. Your drivers that are on the lead lap are coming on to pit road, and Tony, these drivers, as long as everybody pits it's on the lead lap, it should give those drivers that are one lap down the opportunity to take the wave around on this caution flag, given that they all stay out on the racetrack and stay behind the pace car and in front of the leaders. Nick Ottinger in the 05 is going to come down to his box, and the crew will go to work on the Ream Chevrolet.
Looks like it's going to be 4 tires and fuel for the Gale Force Racing bunch, as we would expect. So Nick Ottinger, routine service. Looks like he will be, well, he'll be one of the first ones off pit road. He'll be down and away ahead of, well, who is that? That's actually Kenny Humpy. Going to win the race off pit road. Ray Alfala and Tyler Hudson, the next pairing. Did Kenny Humpy take 2 tires, Joe? I mean, that was a heck of a stop for the 58 bunch.
Yes, Kenny Humpy did, in fact, take 2 tires out there, which is a little bit of a dangerous proposition. It's a very, very much a gamble, and these guys are going to be risking their entire run on that stop. You saw how well it worked for Byron Daly when he tried it. So Kenny Humpy going to try to do what he can on 2 tires, but that's going to be a very, very, very scary little deal.
We're going to step away here. We will take you to the finish of round number 3 of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing.com. In just a moment. Don't go away.
What's inside Peak Antifreeze? 65 years of experience in hot and cold protection. From an independent, family-owned business that's never been afraid to give you exactly what's right for your engine and your wallet. Peak. Run true.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Drivers, start your engines!
Checking up, go low, come on low, come on low, come on low, come on low, 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 low.
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4 in the checkered flag. He wins his first NASCAR iRacing. Welcome back to the AutoClub Speedway, Fontana, California. We are getting ready to go green in about a lap and a half. You will see a lot of drivers take the wave around here. We should have 18 of them taking the wave around to be exact. It should put all 36 drivers that are on the racetrack right now on the lead lap of this event. So we will see all those drivers here pass the pace car right here. There they go. And they'll pass the pace car, and we'll be back to green flag racing in just a few moments' time. Kenny Humpy will lead this field, and Tony, all 36 that are on the racetrack will be on the lead lap. Bias, Hawk, Doucette, Conti, Hunt, Miller, and Trombley are all out of this race, 37th on back.
So this really puts a new face on the race, Tim. Yes, every car on the speedway is on the lead lap, and you've got some guys now that, well, they were a lap down. They'll be coming through this field. I look at guys like, let's see, a Byron Daly, a Brandon Cattell, even Josh and Chad Lawton. Guys that have had fast cars, Joe, that are going to be committed now to trying to bonsai their way through this field. I mean, they are out of chances now. They're out of time. They've got to go. They can't be patient for much longer. And when you've run the top 5 and the top 10 all night long, and now you're 26th, you feel like you've got to go. You deserve that top 10 finish, and you'll do anything almost to get it.
You don't have a choice at this point. It's going to be a 31-lap dash for the cash. Get ready to see some flashes of the good old days. Get ready to see some flashes of the Golden Ballast 400 one more time again, guys. This is going to be vintage racing at its finest.
Pace car is going to drop off here. 31 laps to go. The pit stops are done. And you look at all those drivers that are on that single lane. Ray Alfala goes down to the apron and blocks the 32 of Danny Hansen as we get going. And now the 01 and the 05 getting into it behind the leader. Boys, the gloves are off, and we've got 31 laps to go.
The gloves are off and the sticks are almost flying on the front straightaway. Hudson with a valiant move to the bottom. He'll get underneath Andre now. He'll nearly spin off turn number 2. Hudson out of shape. He'll keep his foot in it. Here goes Ray Alfala now down on the apron. He'll make it 3 wide turn number 3. Somehow they'll escape unharmed. And look at Josh Berry to the outside. That Speedco Junior Motorsports car has come from nowhere, Joe. Here he is now into the wall in turn 4.
There goes the 88. The 88 is around. The 88 spins in front of the entire group, and he's going to collect the 2 other cars with him. He's going to collect the 8 of Gilliland. He's going to collect the, looks like the 41 of Sturgis. He's going to collect Josh Lawton as well. And another car tore through the grass to get through all of this. The big junk has happened here, guys, on the front straightaway. This was exactly what was brewing, and you knew it was going to happen, guys. You knew this was coming. We just saw it happen.
You're going to have some big damage to the 32 of Danny Hansen as well. He continued on, but there's going to be heavy right side damage to that. Josh Berry came back across the racetrack, and he collected somebody. Apparently he couldn't get on the brakes. That was Josh Lawton in the 40 that he got when he came back across the racetrack. There's a lot of drivers that had some near misses through this as well, and you know, that's what happens, Tony. We've seen these races before in the past where those pit stops, yeah, they're out of the way, and we have that dash to set up to the finish. And I hate to bring up that old cliche that cautions breed cautions, but we may very well see this until the end of the race, because that patience factor, it's out the window now, because we don't have to worry about pit stops and conserving and everything else. We got less than 30 laps to go now.
What, patience. What is that, Tim?
Well, we saw it for the first run of the race. We had a green flag pit stop. We almost had 2 green flag pit stops, and then the caution flag came out. We had a little bit of that patience thing in the first little bit of the race, but now we have those guys that are, they see that checkered flag in sight, Tony. They see that first place in sight, Now it's just a matter of pushing to the front of the field, and we mentioned that there were 36 drivers on the lead lap. Everybody that was on the racetrack was on the lead lap. I think we're going to hurt that number a little bit here.
I think you're right. I think Josh Berry's pretty much done. Adam Gilliland is effectively done. Jake Sturgis, same with him. Danny Hansen stayed on the racetrack. I don't think he knows exactly how bad the damage is on the number 32 machine. And, you know, quite frankly, I don't think I blame him. I mean, he got hit in the door as opposed to the nose. Why give up all that track position? Why give up the 4th spot to come in for what may be damage or may not? I mean, yeah, the crew's looking at it, and really from where we're standing, it doesn't seem to be that bad. So Hansen might have dodged a bullet there, trying to stay on the racetrack. So now Brad Davies does have some damage behind him on that number 11 machine from earlier in the night. Tyler Hudson nearly got caught up on that one. He'll still be on the racetrack. And the guy I really looked at in that whole melee, Joe, Matt Busa, he just about hit Josh Berry right square in the door. Great piece of driving on Matt Busa's part. He'll avoid any sort of damage to his machine, but I've got a feeling that's not the last incident of its kind we're going to see after the restart that we saw to open that one.
The guy that I watched throughout that entire incident was driver of that number 57 machine, PJ Sturgis, and we'll see if we can have to get a replay on him. As soon as he saw the 88 spinning around, he said, I want nothing to do with this. So what does he do? He drives it straight through the AutoClub bell into the deep grass, able to get it back on track without any problems, and PJ Sturgis, as a result of that huge evasive maneuver, is looking at his potentially first top 10 for the season, which would be huge for him considering the first 2 races he finished 43rd in both of them.
He's definitely not going to finish 43rd this evening. He's going to gain a few points at least from the 44th place in the standings that he was at the beginning of the evening. That 43rd place, it's not a trophy, but it's an honor, I guess, goes to Justin Trombley at this point. The 17 car is in the garage area, 87 laps off the pace of the leader. We mentioned the 88 car coming back out on the racetrack after he wrecked and got into the 40 of Josh Lawton. Lawton not happy. Lawton and Barry exchanging words within the racing server. And that's how it goes sometimes. Josh Lawton still on the racetrack, and the 88 of Josh Berry is not on the racetrack at this point. So Lawton going to try to salvage what he can, but you can see the 40. There's a lot of rear end damage, Tony, to the number 40 as he tries to soldier on and grab what he can, because keep in mind, Josh Lawton sits 14th in the standings coming in to this event. So every single point that he can get is great. We mentioned that drop race has to come between now and the completion of race 13. So he doesn't want to use this early as the drop.
You don't want to use that, of course, but sometimes you kind of have to. And, you know, that's one of the unfortunate deals of whenever you're racing a series like the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze series, is that things happen. I mean, that's all there is to it. You don't let me back up. You never plan to use your drop race. Your plan of using your drop race is when you finish second because you won all the other ones. That's the plan. It never works out that way. You need that mulligan from time to time. But yeah, you don't want to have to use it this early, but you know what? Sometimes things happen and you're kind of forced to. And Joe, that might be the case for some of these drivers, and really even still we might see it happen because, well, after that last restart, we saw how hairy things can get. And as we get closer and closer to the end of this race, that vise is going to tighten, and there's going to be less and less give and a lot more take in turn 1.
Pace car lights are off. One more, about half lap to go at this point before we're back into this. Kenny Humpy is still in front of this field. Nick Ottinger, Ray Alfalla, Danny Hansen, Brad Davies, your top 5. And guys, with so much talent up front, this is really going to be I believe a definitive restart. 26 laps left to go in this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series race, and this is really going to be the one that's going to make or break you, I think. If yellows breed yellows, if cautions breed cautions, then this is going to be the restart. This is going to be the restart that could solidify your position or give you a fighting chance for the rest of the race.
Leader about to go here as the iRacing.com pace car pulls off, and here comes Humpy. Green flag flies. We're back underway. 99 laps completed here. Ottinger will fall into line in position number 2. little bit of a calmer restart up in front compared to the one we just saw. Ray Alfala to the inside of Danny Hansen, but behind them, they are going at it.
3-4 wide trouble now. Around goes the number 30 of Robert Hall into the outside wall. Alex Warren catches a piece of it, and that all started right around Byron Daly and Brian Day. Daly tried to shove his way between Brian Day and Robert Hall. Didn't work out for him, and Robert Hall, the poor driver that gets the short end of the stick in turn number 1. That'll put us under caution once again. Tough break for Robert Hall and for Alex Warren. Both drivers looking to move forward. Brandon Cattell also got knocked sideways in that incident, but he did not make contact with anyone or anything substantial. So another incident that, well, could have been a lot larger than it was, Joe.
Could have been a lot larger. That restart could have been a lot larger than we anticipated it to be. Robert Hall, though, talk about drawing the short end of the stick. He ends up in the wall, and that is going to hurt him significantly there. We'll still have plenty of racing left here on the field. We'll still have over 20 laps of racing left to go, or plus or minus 20 laps of racing to go when we get the green flag back. But with every caution period we have, it only means that the guys up front, Humpy, Ottinger, Alfala, Hansen, Hudson, they get to conserve. They get to cool down a little bit. They get to reset their strategy, which means that whole group is going to be a lot harder to pass, a lot harder to fight with when we go back to green flag racing.
You know, Tony, when you look back at that wreck, I was never good at fitting the round peg in the square hole. I think they tried to fit the square hole in the round peg there because there was 3 cars going for about a lane and a half of real estate going into corner number 1, and it did not work. You saw Byron get into the 30, Alex Warren getting damage from it as well. Robert Hall hasn't been, well, he's 19th in points, but he hasn't really had that season, the first couple of races to be desired. And now he's got heavy damage to the number 30 car, and he'll be coming down pit road to try to get more of that repaired at this point. And I know Landon Harrison does have a webcam. Before we go to break, maybe we can see Landon Harrison at work under caution. He is sitting in position number 10 right now, and that's the Beach Blue Jay, or at least it was, Tony. I don't think it is now because it's running in position number 10. And we mentioned that green flag pit stop strategy. He stayed out, got track position. All those other drivers had to take the wave around. So right now he's in 10th. And as long as this race keeps going the way it is, we might have 3 laps and then another caution, 3 laps and then another caution. We're hoping to get a green flag finish to this race. But if it continues the way it is, we've seen some of these races in the past go like it is. Landon Harrison might get a top 10 if he can stay out of all the trouble and wheel it into the finish.
Very well could, Tim. Stranger things have happened. Same thing for a guy a couple spots ahead, Trey Eidson, the motivated eyewear machine. Haven't talked a lot about him all season, but former, well, what's now X1R Pro Cup Series racer, Trevor Farbo actually owns that company. And CJ Faison also involved with that, NASCAR Camping World Truck Series driver. So good to see their car having a solid run here in the late stages. Trey Eidson, driver out of South Carolina. So good run for him, Joe.
Former Online 500 winner as well. I've been talking about just historic races all night, especially when it comes to here at AutoClub Speedway. You're starting to see that experience pay off. You're starting to see guys who have driven for years upon years really take it to the next level. And tonight, you are really seeing that cream rise to the top.
Well, Joe reminisces about the old days. We are going to take a break. We will be back in just a few moments with the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series and the closing laps of round number 3.
This is where it gets difficult. This is where your name's on the line, everything's on the line. You get that one chance to go out there and put down your best performance with the most amount of pressure.
You got to take this race car, this whole new group of people, go to the racetrack, somehow impress them, and oh, by the way, you got to do it now. It's now or never.
First thing that went through my mind was like, no way.
Just be real important to try to figure out how to keep the tires under him and run a smart 150 laps.
They might bump him around a little bit, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
everybody should enter next year's contest because you never know what could happen, man. You can come out here and run top 5 in your first K&N West race. So I'm so psyched right now. This is incredible.
Welcome back to the Auto Club Speedway. We are closing in on the completion of 103. We should be 104 this time, and the light should be off the pace car when we complete this lap by. Humpy, Ottinger, Alfala, Hansen, Hudson, top 5. Davies, Busa, Eidson, Bennett, Harrison, your top 10. And PJ Sturgis is just hanging out around the top 10 as well. He's sitting in position number 11. Great run for Stephen Gilbert as well. He sits 13th. Michael J. Johnson having a great run as well in 18th. Justin Bolton and Brad Mahar complete your top 20 at this point as we get ready to go green flag racing. We saw in the Pro Series, Tony, that Kenny Humpy won half of the 10 races in the series. The other races, he was really nowhere to be found near the front of the field. He's leading this race at California. If he wins this race, he would be batting 66% in the win column in this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. Are we starting to see the rise again of Kenny Humpy, or does something happen that bites him here in these remaining 20 or so laps?
Well, that first restart of this, well, I should say first restart, but this last restart, the one before it, is an indication. Yeah, he might get bit, and he might get bitten by a few things, like Nick Ottinger, Ray Alfala, Tyler Hudson, Danny Hansen. It's really hard to say. Now, he's got remember, I should say, he's got 2 tires on that car. Those left sides are 50-some-odd laps old on the part of Kenny Humpy. So it's been a while since there's been new left side tires on that 58 car. And while some guys say you can do it with 2 tires, that extra grip on the left-hand side just kind of helps stabilize that car, Joe. It kind of helps hold it through the corner. And sometimes when it comes down to one of these last lap dashes or late race, type of restarts, every little bit you can get absolutely does help you. We'll find out how much it does help. The green flag is out. Here we go once again, Joe.
When once again the 58 machine of Humpy back in control of the field, but don't look now. Here comes Ottinger on the low end. Danny Hansen going to join him as well, and the battle for the lead is brewing. Humpy up front, now 3 wide around position number 4, down to 2 wide. The 2 of Alfala in position. Davies and Hudson, though, fighting behind him for positions.
Alfala and Hudson playing games. To the inside they go. The 0-1 to the inside of the 2. Can he block it there? No, he can't. Alfala nearly gets contact from the 0-1, almost gets up into the 11, and here comes the 34 of Matt Busa. 3 and 4 wide coming out of corner number 4, and somehow the 11 is going to come out with the position, and Tyler Hudson, Tony, going to fall back too.
He's going to be stuck on the outside now through turns 1 and 2. Tyler Hudson going to have to wheel that machine. In fact, nearly made contact now with Ray Alfala. A lap ago, they made contact off turn 2, which hooked those 2 cars together. But it doesn't matter here because up front, that's where the battle's at. Ottinger, the inside of Humpy in turn number 3. Ottinger back to the point once again. Here comes Danny Hansen trying to join the party. He wants to make it a 3-way battle for the top spot. Humpy says no. He's going to look to the outside of Ottinger down the front straightaway.
Ottinger drops the loud pedal hard, and we have problems on the track. Big caution on the track. 55 machine involved. Schoenberg gets around smoking now, and he had a little bit of help. It looks like the 25. You saw that live here on PSRTV, MRN, and everywhere else we see. 55 of Schoenberg lost it himself, collected a couple cars with him, and Schoenberg, that's a tough one for the California driver as well. You know, he feels a little bit of pride. You feel like this is home track, and he loses it with less than 20 to go. Heartbreaking way to go out for Brian Schoenberg.
And Tony, I'm sure the driven steering wheel helped a little bit on the 93 of Byron Daly, but a little bit of luck helped that one too, because Brian Schoenberg nearly took the 93 along with him as he was trying to save that race car. Justin Bolton did not get the same luck. Bolton gets a little bit of damage from that as well. And Schoenberg is going to be out of this race at his home racetrack, and I'm sure he wanted a better finish for his fans, but he is going to finish somewhere outside probably the top 30 at this point. So the caution is back out. Ottinger is your leader. Kenny Humpy in second. Danny Hansen in third. Brad Davies, Ray Alfala, your top 5. And when I look at that top 5, Tony, I see Danny Hansen sitting in 3rd. He's run great all night long. He's having a career run in the Pro Geek Ford. He has never won a race in this series. Could this be the night we get another first-time winner in this series?
Could very well be, Tim. Of course, the laps are winding down, and this race has favored people that can make a run late in a run, if that makes sense. Hansen might be the guy that can do that here on this quick jaunt to the finish. We're going to have less than 15 laps to go, and we've never seen anybody all race have to go full Monty the whole way for 15 laps. They've been conserving, they've been saving, and there might be something left in that 32 car. We've seen him up front leading portions of this race. He might have something still in the tank, and really Brad Davies could also play a wild card. It's been a while since he's been to victory lane, Tim. And also Matt Busa back there as well in the 34 car. He too has proven he's got some speed underneath that Gale Force racing machine. So a lot of things that could be happening here in these final laps. And Joe, we watched some Michael Johnson on board, and things not hearing where he was sitting.
Things got very, very scary in a hurry. You see it right from his perspective, from where he was sitting, and that is definitely going to haunt him for the remainder of this race. Meanwhile, back up front, we talked about Kenny Humphrey earlier, guys. If he wins tonight's race, he would be batting 67%, which is an excellent batting average. But something I want to remind you guys: winning races does not necessarily equate to a championship. Look at your current leader, for example, Nick Ottinger. Remember, he won, what, 7 races last season? He was your winningest driver out there, ended up finishing 3rd in points because of internet connections, because of other issues that he experienced throughout the season. So just because you win races, which is a good start, don't get me wrong, winning races is great, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't guarantee that you're going to end up in the top tier at the end of the season, especially with the chase format that comes up here in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series.
And I know that team pens an article each week for In Racing News, and I did catch one of their articles here last week, skimmed through it, and it talks about the week that the Rheem Chevrolet team has, the Gale Force Racing team has. And it seems like there's those situations where nothing goes right for the team, and the team, the spotter, Matt Holden and Nick Ottinger, they bicker back and forth. And he said it's fun for everybody else but them, because they're the ones that are fighting, and it puts on a show for everybody else. Then there's weeks like this where Nick Ottinger qualifies well, he runs up front, and he's in a position to win the race, or he runs good like he is tonight, and then something takes him out of a good finish, whether it is an internet connection or a wreck or something like that, in the middle portion to the end of the race. So right now, Ottinger is having one of those nights where everything is going right, and let's touch some wood right now, because we're looking at 125 laps, the distance in this race. We are working the completion of 109. We should be going green at the completion of 110 into 111. So we should have 15 laps to go in this one, Tony. I don't think we've seen the finish of the caution flags being out here on the speedway. So we'll see if Ottinger can hold off the rest of the field. Danny Hansen can possibly get his first win. When's the last time Brad Davies has been in victory lane in this series, Tony?
Like we said, it has been a while, Tim, since he has been to victory lane. So it'd almost be like a first-time winner since it's been that long for the driver, the number 11. Lights are out atop the pace car. That means we'll be going back racing with 15 laps to go. And you were talking about Nick Ottinger and things happening, not finishing races. Look at the list, Joe, of guys that aren't going to finish this race, or at least aren't going to have the run that they wanted. Josh Berry, Adam Gilliland, Cody Bias, Brandon Hawk, Michael Connie, 39th, Rich Doucette, Mitchell Hunt out early with an engine problem, then Ashton Miller and Justin Trombley. So some pretty big names on both bookends of the field. That's not always a good thing if you're on the lower bookend, I suppose, but just kind of tells you what kind of race this has been.
Well, Tony, keep something else in mind here. Anytime you go to a brand new track, anytime you go to a brand new circuit, you're going to have some of that natural atrophy. I don't think this really, that's a testament to the race or the quality of the racing or anything about the racing. I think what it's really a testament to is just how much parity there has gotten to be here at this top tier of iRacing. How much how much things have changed in this top group, and how the new guard, the new guns of this series are challenging the old establishment. You're really seeing out here the change, the higher, the increased quality of racing, and it's really kind of exciting to watch.
So here we go. We have Ottinger, we have Humpy, your front row, pace car in, and Ottinger is gone. A green flag flies, and Humpy can't get to the inside. Tyler Hudson threads the needle back there. I didn't think there was room there, Tony, to fit a car down there, but somehow Tyler Hudson did it.
Whoa!
Battle for second. Here comes the 32 of Danny Hansen, and he's bringing a friend along with him in the 11.
Yeah, that wasn't almost Harry. That was quite hairy in the turn number 1. You see him bobbing, dancing, weaving off of turn 2 and down the back straightaway. Here goes Hansen out the runner off the spot. Look behind him. Davies and Alfalla making a bid for the spot as well. They're spreading out everywhere as they work into turn number 3. Finally down to the bottom. Now Hansen going to slide up to that second spot all by his lonesome and try to give chase to Nick Ottinger, who right now, Joe, is the happiest man in the joint. He's got all this happening where? In the most important place it can, his rear view mirror into turn 1 once again.
And the more they infight between them, the more they go back and forth between each of those drivers, the harder it is going to be for the both of them to make it work. Rear bumper, he's got a bumper full of the 58 of Kenny Humpy. They made contact with your defending champion, the 0-1 machine of Tyler Hudson, and these guys aren't done fighting yet. They are still going door to door, dancing cheek to cheek out there. The 58 wants in, but the old guard is locking him out. In fact, the two champions, these guys who have combined for your past 3 championships, they just locked him out. Welcome to the big leagues, Kenny Humpy.
And the 0-1 couple laps ago was leaning on that number 58 of Kenny Humpy. You ride with the number 58, looking up at Tyler Hudson, at Ray Alfalla, at Brad Davies, and you see in the far distance, Nick Ottinger is pulling away. Behind them, it's the 6 and 34 side by side. Little block being thrown by the 26 to the 80 of Brandon Cattell. He's trying to make his way back up to the front of the field. The 80 may send the 26 here going down into corner number 3, and he does. 26 up the racetrack, and everybody scatters, and Landon Harrison makes it 4 wide. Brandon Bowie doesn't make it. Josh Lawton around as well. Caution flag will fly.
Big trouble turn number 4, and you saw it happen there as it all started in turn number 3, Tim, and you're exactly right. And I don't think it's so much a block on the part of Chad Lawton as it was just these guys are so out of control. They lose grip out of turn 2, and they're forced to go to the bottom of the racetrack to save it. But in the case of Brandon Cattell, he already had a run, and he had no other choice but to go to the bottom as well with Chad Lawton. That didn't make Brandon Cattell very happy, so he went ahead and gave that 26 car a shove in turn number 3 to move him out of the way, and that is when all the chaos started. Lawton sideways off the pace, everybody taking evasive action to avoid the 26 machine, and unfortunately Brandon Bowie, Josh Lawton, and others, the unfortunate victims of circumstance, Joe.
Victims of circumstance, including a lot of victims of circumstance out there, including Brandon Bowie, the 40, the 4 machine, getting some trouble out there. And it looks like the number 3 machine ended up, after making some side contact, blows up the engine in that machine, and Brandon Schmidt is going to be done well as a result of that incident. 6 or 7 cars out there got a piece of that one. And this race is getting more and more tense with every lap that goes by. We are about 11 to go at this juncture. Do you think we have it in us to have 2 more restarts? Because, guys, I've got a feeling this next restart could very easily be the last.
Yeah, this could very well be the last restart if we do go, let's say, 4 laps or so, and then the caution flag does fly. But there's a lot of close calls back there. Landon Harrison, he had to get on the binders to avoid a slowing Chad Lawton and a couple of other drivers there. And talked to Jordan Hightower. That car, after the pit stop strategy that they employed, staying out, those guys behind him taking the wave around, they said it's not the best car. It's not the worst handling race car he's ever driven, though. So it went from a Beach Blue Jay to probably about maybe a wounded Robin or something, Tony.
I guess if you want to leave the bird analogies in place, that would be the case. So not good for Landon Harrison, but the good news is, I guess, if there is any, car's at least still kind of in one piece, and he's still rolling. That's more than a lot of his compatriots can say here, as it's been a pretty rough race these last 50 or so laps, Joe. We talked about the outset how it's almost like a short track race at 200 miles an hour. Well, last few laps have kind of proven it. They're sideways, they're up on the wheel, they're swatting flies in the cockpit, they're laying the bumper to each other. I mean, this is, I don't want to say it's perfect racing, but it's about as perfect as you could really get when you look at the entire scenario.
As you look at the entire scenario, you look at everything that's taken place, you're definitely seeing a lot of fun racing. This is a lot of cool racing out here. This is probably one of the better races we have seen here in quite a long time, guys. And AutoClub Speedway, this has turned into a really fun track.
And it looks like some of the field behind the pace car starting to get formed up here for a restart in a couple laps time. You are watching the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com on iRacing Live, PSRTV, Nesson, the Motor Racing Network, among other places. We remind you that if you want to watch the unfolding rounds of this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, come back in 2 weeks. We're racing at the Texas Motor Speedway coming up on April 8th. And 2 weeks after that, we head to the short track at Richmond. We've had some pretty good races there, a lot of green flag races as well at Richmond in the past. And then Pocono at round number 6 in May 6th. So those are the next 3 rounds. As you look at Brian Day, the Plan B Sales number 4, making his way through that last wreck. He will have to wheel that car from position at number 29. And Tony, I know you have the code on the tip of your tongue for Brian Day. I know if you want to get some a discount, you can head over there and to Plan B Sales and grab some cheap diecast, right?
You can. It's that it was, I think, B Day 4, the big promo code they've got rolling. If you enter that at checkout, save 10% on your purchase at Plan B Sales. So certainly something cool, and the sponsors here, some of these drivers are doing. Unfortunately for Brian Day, he's going to need more than a diecast to fix that car. So tough break for Brian Day. But, you know, he was up in the running order earlier tonight. Just bad luck has kind of befallen him, so tough break for that driver. Is looking through the field, some other guys that have now worked their way forward, Joe. You look at Peter Bennett. He's worked his way up to 8th after all this carnage. And Byron Daly, after being caught a lap down that one cycle of pit stops, well, he's now up to 10th. And Brandon Cattell, who pitted very early, got a free pass, actually, is now back on the lead lap and up to 11th. So he, Stephen Gilbert even, and Kevin King now, one of the first times we've said that all night, is inside the top 15. So a lot of guys starting to make their presence felt here in the late going, including the guy there in the screen, Byron Daly, who's done a great job, as we said, Joe, driving through the field after being caught a lap down.
Byron Daly going to sit very nicely here on the track. He's going to be sitting position number 10. And as we get ready for what could be the final shootout of the race, this really could be a definitive moment for him. Let's also check in with the driver of the number 89 machine, Landon Harrison. He's made it through the last few wrecks. That's the good news for him. The bad news, though, he's going to sit at the tail end of the top 20. And you know, and when he sits just inside the top 20, it's going to mean he's going to have a long way to go if he wants to have that big finish tonight.
So if we go about 4 laps here without the green-white checker initiated in this series, the race will be over, and we'll finish this race under caution. But if we do go, let's say, 2-3 laps, get a caution, we might have a 1-lap dash to finish off this race. This is going to be interesting here, guys. Pace car is going to hop off here, and Nick Ottinger is going to lead this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series field to green. Danny Hansen to the inside, 3 wide already for position number 3. Brad Davies in the middle. Tyler Hudson pops to the inside, and Alfala on the extreme outside as they're playing games. One got turned. Trey Eidson into corner number 1.
Eidson somehow saved it, but caution was out already, Tim. Good news for Trey Eidson, but something happened behind them here on the restart. It looks like it was actually Chad Lawton that caught a piece of the inside wall. Again, a product of these guys trying to slice and dice because restarts are the easiest time to pass somebody. Chad Lawton got caught in the back bumper with Chris Overland. That sent that car for a wild ride up and down the banking right in front of our Beach Blue Jay, Landon Harrison. And Chad Lawton's great night has gone sour, and from sour to even worse, it is spoiled. Chad Lawton pretty much done for the night, Joe.
It was a valiant move. It was a big move. I mean, that was one of those moves that happened once in a career. It's a move that you will be remembered for if you're successful. The problem for Chad Lawton, though, it wasn't successful. He got blocked. He ended up getting spun around. He hits the inside of the wall really hard, and that is going to destroy his motor. That is going to put him out for the night, and that is going to leave us in a very precarious situation. Now at the end of this race, we're looking at maybe a 3-lap shootout at best. Maybe a green-white checkered or a green-green-white checkered.
We have a black flag on the 41 of Jake Sturgis, and we're going to wait to see if race officials do decide to clear this. Let's take a little camera on the 41. The green cone at the end of pit road on the iRacing service is the cone that defines pit exit. That cone is usually in that little box or at the end of the line there. Somebody had already knocked over the green cone. It may have been Trey when he went down into corner number 1. Jake Sturgis was on the opposite end of that cone, but the cone was sitting in the middle of the line. He got a black flag from the sim, and he is going over with race officials. He went down there, Tony, to avoid the wreck. Well, he really had no choice because he got thrown down there through that wreck and couldn't get back up to the other side of that cone. And there's the black flag, so it's tough to call on that one. But really, Jake had nowhere to go on that.
No, he really didn't, Tim. He got shoved by Brandon Bowie as Bowie was trying to slow down for the incident, and he was headed headlong for the inside wall. Did a great job to save it, and yes, there's that little portion of pit road that's unprotected by a pit wall. I'm sure Jake Sturgis is thankful for that right now, and he entered that section of pit lane, which by the sim's definition is, an illegal entry into pit road. However, thankfully, the stewards here in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series realized, yeah, that was probably the safest course of action for Jake Sturgis. So they have, in fact, it sounds like, cleared that black flag. Good news if you're a Jake Sturgis fan.
It was the safest move for Jake Sturgis, and frankly, the safest move for anybody else on the track. He tried to slam the brakes. He tried to.
So as Joe tries to find the cable that is disconnected there, I think he might have hit it down underneath the table somewhere here, Tony, but nevertheless, we're trying to get Joe reconnected here. But Ottinger, Danny Hansen, your top 2 at this point, Davies, Alfala, and Hudson. And you want to talk about some drivers being aggressive on that last start, Tony. Tyler Hudson on the last couple of starts has been diving down where I didn't think there was holes, and he made holes, and now he's sitting in position number 5. He's on the inside, so watch for him to possibly dive underneath Brad Davies. They were 3 wide going into corner number 1 when that caution happened behind them. This is the point, if it hasn't already, that the feelings are going to be hurt by some of these drivers if some of those moves are being made and something goes wrong. There might be some feelings hurt. We saw Tyler Hudson's feelings hurt last week when the green flag pit stop and everything else didn't go his way. He finished in 5th. So he's trying to one-up that, and no pun on the team, and try to get up there with that one-up Motorsports Peak Antifreeze 01 car.
Yeah, he's going to do whatever he can do, Tim. And yeah, you do whatever you've got to do here, I think. And Tyler might be one of the guys that could do it. We've seen it already. He's made some pretty risky maneuvers on the bottom of the racetrack. But you know what? There's nothing in the rule book against it. Go for it, dude. Whether it's Tyler Hudson, Brad Davies, Chris Over, I don't care. It's not in the rule book, and it's not not going to be an unsafe move. Go for it. Do whatever you can get. Do whatever you can to get a position. As I've kind of been noted for saying in many leagues in the past, if they wouldn't want you to go there, they wouldn't pave it. So Tyler Hudson using all the pavement and then some, as have been other drivers. It's going to be entertaining, because now I think, Joe, the biggest thing is, if you have to shove somebody out of the way, you shove somebody out of the way. Your biggest deal is to A, make up spots, and B, keep from getting wrecked on this restart, because we know that everybody here is aware that this is the final restart of the race coming up.
It will be the final restart of the race. It will leave us about 3 laps to go. Then we go back to green flag racing. Lights do turn off this time by, so we will have a green-white checkered finish here tonight at AutoClub Speedway, and this is going to be the moment. This is going to be the moment that's going to define your race here at AutoClub Speedway. Everybody wants to walk away with the first trophy at this track, and I hate to say it, guys, but tonight, especially tonight, second place is going to be the first loser.
We will remind you that if we make it to 125 and the white flag does fly, the caution flag will not fly on that final lap. The leaders will be able to race it back to the finish. But if the caution flag comes out between the start of lap 123 and the start of lap 125, that will be the finish of the race. We will not have a green-white checker finish. There will not be extra laps, and it will finish the way it is, given that those cars can come back and finish under their own power to 125 under the caution flag. We will go green at the completion of 122 into 123. Round number 3 of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series coming down to a 3-lap dash. It's Ottinger, Danny Hansen looking for his first career win in the series. Brad Davies, former champions Ray Alfala and Tyler Hudson, Daytona winner Kenny Humphrey, Peter Bennett, Trey Eidson looking for his first win in the series, as is Byron Daly. Matt Busa completes your top 10. The pace car is going to pop in here, and 123 is going to be on the big board in the infield. Here comes Ottinger. What happens here? Green flag flies. Couple of guys spinning tires back there. Tyler Hudson to the inside already as he looks at Alfala and Davies in front of him.
Side by side for that third spot. Here goes Hudson to the bottom. He's going to make it 3 wide with a horrible angle into the corner, but he'll get his nose under Davies momentarily. Can't make it stick. Side by side now for the third spot. Here comes Alfala. He'll get the power run off the top of turn number 2. They'll be neck and neck off the final corner. Trouble behind them. Couple of cars down to the apron. No caution on the green. They're 3 wide. At turn number 3, Hudson with the 2 for special. Caution is out. And Nick Ottinger, if he can whip it back to the flag, well, guess what, Joe? That means he will claim another NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series win.
Nick Ottinger collects the caution flag at the start-finish line. He is your winner as long as he can finish the next 2 laps under his own power. Danny Hansen second, Ray Alfala third, Tyler Hudson fourth, and Brad Davies rounding out your top 5 out here. Kenny Humphrey, Peter Bennett, Matt Busa, Brandon Cattell, and Byron Daly, your top 10. What an incredible finish, especially at the back of that field when they were just wrecking out there. What a way to finish the inaugural race here at Auto Club.
Looks like the 43 of Kwame Ajay may have punted the 13 off of corner number 2, and the 13 collects the 43 down the racetrack after what had happened there. 13 hits the inside wall a ton, comes back out onto the racetrack, which triggers the caution flag, and that is the completion of the event. At least the green flag portion of the event. Tough break for Kwame. He was actually having a good season to start off at position 17 in the standings. And Brad, I believe, was just outside the top 20, or check that, 13th, when the point standings finished off after the first 2 races of the season. So there are some drivers that, Tony, were inside the top 20. We keep saying the top 20 in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series is important. It's because they get the invite back to 2015, so you definitely want to be in the top 20 in this series, and I know it's still early in the season, but every point can count, especially when you're finishing up in front like Nick Ottinger, Danny Hansen, and Ray Alfala are, as we are on the white flag lap here.
Exactly right, Tim. You run well and you finish well, finish being the important part of that equation. The points will take care of themselves. You can really run like crap, and as long as you finish well, that's all that matters. And that's what we've seen a couple times already this season. Guys playing pit strategy to their advantage, trying to do anything they can to get that result. But you know what? Tonight it was all about running well, staying up front. And Nick Ottinger, he's got about 1.25 miles until he can claim victory for the first time this season, Joe.
Yeah, you know what? I said at the beginning of the race, he looked strong all race, and tonight he really proved why he's in that top group. Nick Ottinger earn this win. All he's got to do is finish the next final lap under his own volition, and this race is his. He looks strong all night. I am so glad I picked him tonight for my my fantasy challenge over on timscorner.ca, and Nick Ottinger really proving himself while he's out in that group. But again, as I said at the beginning of the race, the cream will rise tonight. The cream will rise when pressure is put on there, and look at who's in the top 5. Danny Hansen, Ray Alfala, Tyler Hudson, Brad Davies. You couldn't ask for a more talented lineup than that to finish top 5 here for the first run of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series at Auto Club Speedway. The 05 of Nick Ottinger getting a little excited. He knows he's got this one in the bag. All he's got to do is cross our finish line, ring the bell. Nick Ottinger, your winner at Auto Club Speedway.
3 races into the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing, and we have 3 different winners. Nick Ottinger comes home the winner here this evening. Danny Hansen with his career best in position number 2. Ray Alfala, Tyler Hudson, and a great run for Brad Davies as well, coming home in position at number 5. And Brad Davies entered this race 36th in the standings after 2 races, so I'm sure the 11 team is going to be happy about that. Kenny Humpy, Peter Bennett, Matt Busa, Brandon Cattell, and Byron Daly complete your top 10. A great run for Cattell. Cattell comes in 3rd in the standings as well, so that's going to help him. Kenny Humpy, your point leader, finishes in 6th, and Thomas Lewandowski, who was 2nd in the point standings coming in, the 16 car, finishes in 34th, so that's definitely not going to help him. Nick Ottinger, still working his way down the bag straightaway. He'll come by this time and do a little bit of celebrating, I'm sure. That crew is, I'm sure, very happy, and we will talk to them in the post-race show for this NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing, as the 05 team wins their first of the 2014 season. We will step away here on PSRTV, the Motor Racing Network, iRacing Live, Nesson, and all our other partners, and we'll be back in just a few moments' time. We'll talk to your top 5 in just a moment.
What's inside Peak Antifreeze? 65 years of experience in hot and cold protection. From an independent, family-owned business that's never been afraid to give you exactly what's right for your engine and your wallet. Peak. Run true.
This is where it gets difficult. This is where your name's on the line, everything's on the line. You get that one chance to go out there and put down your best performance with the most amount of pressure.
You got to take this race car, this whole new group of people, go to the racetrack, somehow impress them, and oh, by the way, you got to do it now. It's now or never.
First thing that went through my mind was like, no way.
Just be real important to try to figure out how to keep the tires under him and run a smart 150 laps.
They might bump him around a little bit, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Everybody should enter next year's contest because you never know what could happen, man. You can come out here and run top 5 in your first K&N West race. So I'm so psyched right now. This is incredible.
Nick Ottinger celebrates for the first time this season as a winner in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing. Comes home with the win in the inaugural AutoClub Speedway event, round number 3 of 17 on the 2014 campaign. Danny Hansen, Ray Alfala, Tyler Hudson, Brad Davies, your top 5 at the completion of 125 laps around this 2-mile D-shaped oval. Joe Cortez standing in victory lane with the driver of the Rheem Chevrolet, Nick Ottinger.
My guy, Nick Ottinger, came here with a mission, be the first one to win an Auto Club Speedway, and he does so tonight in the Rheem Chevrolet. Nick, it's got to be fun always to be back in victory lane, but number 2, how much more special is it knowing that you're the first one in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series to conquer the big 2-mile D oval in Fontana?
Well, thank you, Joe. It feels really special being the first one. I love racing this track. I love testing it. All the guys did very hard work on working on the right front of the car, but I mean it felt pretty good to run that good again and get back in our rhythm, because we usually start late in the season, we start getting our rhythm in, but it felt great to get in victory lane. I can't help, the racing was fun too. I mean, you could race side by side, and I mean, you could have to keep someone pinched enough where you can get a good run off. I mean, it was fun racing.
Nick, we saw you guys run 2 wide. We saw you guys run 3 wide. You guys run literally every lane on the track that was available. How crazy was the racing, and how worried were you that you might have gotten caught up in one of those many incidents we saw, especially towards the end?
Well, I'm gonna bring up a point that last race at Vegas, I didn't start too good. I started dead last on the field. So it's definitely a confidence booster. Starting up in the top 5, and that helped progress my race because I didn't have to drive up through the field again. And it was definitely hectic restarts. We could change lanes, and I knew we would be going like 5, 6 wide if possible. I just don't want to be one of them guys going at 5 and 6 wide. And luckily we started up front, and finally we got control of the restarts, and I love it, man. Felt good.
Nick, pit strategy. Let's talk about that real quick. We saw you in that very first set of pit stops, stretch it as far as you could. The second time around, it looks like that yellow flag just knocked out pit strategy entirely. Did it really knock out your pit strategy entirely? And more importantly, the second yellow flag came after that first long run. When the yellow flag came out to bring out the second run of pit stops, how ready were you guys for that pit stop?
We were ready. The Gale Force guys are basically ready for anything. I could wad it up lap 2 or something, and they'd be ready to repair. But we definitely want to see that first caution, because I mean, we started stretching our lead, kept saving fuel every time we got up to the top 2 and 3, and we let guys. I mean, you had so much draft, so much pull. The guy behind you they can pull right up to your bumper if they had a decent car, but we basically tried saving fuel for the most part so we can stretch it longer than the guys and have better tires than them. And it worked in our advantage the first round of pit stops, and we started pulling away. But the second, we were still in a good position and everything, about the same position we were the first stop. And I'm kind of glad we got around, I think it was Kenny, one of them late restarts, and we can control the restart. So it was definitely, we played our strategy good. I want to thank Peter Fisher for that, because he was filling in for Matt tonight, and Matt had to do some schoolwork, his college schoolwork, and last minute notice, but he did some great strategy calls. Car was good. Car was really good long run. I could get a really good drive up off, and everyone else would charge it in more. I'd just back it up and get it ready to pull off the corner. So,
Nick, you got the Gale Force team in the garage. You got Rheem on the hood. Who makes it work for you and the 05 team?
Well, it's a whole lot of people. Definitely a whole lot of people. First, I want to thank my sponsors, of course, Marine, Gale Force Suspension Management, Gale, Brood, Franklin Cable Group, Patriot Safety Supply, SDI Cancer Research Fund, and it's really good to be back in victory lane with these guys on the Gale Force bunch. I want to also thank Jeff Backey for painting the replica of the car that I'm running right now, because it's a whole redesign that we're running. But I definitely want to thank the hard work for the guys on Gale Force Racing. Peter Fisher, Matt Holden, Ronnie Sisney, Matt Bussa. I think everyone on the team had relatively good runs, and that's real important for us. And it was definitely felt really good to get back in the victory lane. The racing was good, and thanks to my teammates again.
Nick Ottinger, the big winner, back in victory lane for the first time in the 2014 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series campaign. Great run tonight, Nick. We'll see you in 2 weeks at Texas.
Thank you, Joe.
Nick Ottinger, your big winner tonight here at Auto Club Speedway. Tony Stevens caught up with our second-place finisher, Danny Hansen.
Certainly have, Joe. Danny Hansen, the Pro Geek Consulting Ford Fusion. And Danny, anything you could have done different on those final restarts to maybe change the outcome of this one?
Not had damage from the wreck about 30 laps earlier. I was down on power. Not a whole awful lot. Handling was still good, but pretty happy to be able to hang on to second, being the fact that I didn't get any more damage out of that.
How nerve-wracking and how difficult is it on these restarts where we've seen guys juking, jiving, bobbing, weaving to try to maintain some semblance of sanity getting into especially turn number 1, because it looks like it is an absolute free-for-all in those first couple of laps?
Well, it sure is a lot less nerve-wracking when you have a car underneath you like I had tonight. The last couple of restarts, like I said, I was just hanging on, being down on power, but throughout the race it was pretty fun where I could put that car in where it would stick and how well it would come off the corner. That's one of my better cars I've driven in my sim racing career.
Well, it certainly netted you your career best finish, a second here in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. I know there's a lot of people besides Pro Geek, and of course they're one of them, that helps make things happen for the 32 crew. Who's the rest of the people we might not see behind the scenes?
Just got a whole laundry list of people who make it happen, and I can't thank each and every one of them enough for everything. I got Garrett Smithley Racing. Go check them out. Just announced that they're going to do an ARCA race at Talladega. RCRL, probably one of the best leagues on the service right now. Had Kyle Robinson Designs, up and coming designer. Go check them out on their Facebook site. JDR Graphics makes my cars look good every week, and Jeremy Lukasga for giving me all his support as well.
That's Danny Hansen, your second place finisher here tonight in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series at Auto Club Speedway. Tim Terry and Ray Alfalla now. Tim's presence. Tim?
I don't know about that. Down here with two-time Ray Alfalla finishing in position number 3. First, Ray, let's start at the start. You started on the front row for this race. You had the pole position.
Yeah, I couldn't believe I got the pole there. I felt like I messed up in 3 and 4, but the car had enough speed in it, so that was a pleasant surprise. And the rest of the race, not so well, not as well as I expected it to be, but I haven't had an interview here in like 6 months, so I'll take it.
There was a couple of restarts at the end that were really hairy. I know there was one where you had the 11 and the 01 to your inside and you were stuck on the outside, and then a wreck happened behind you guys, which brought the caution flag out. Talk about those restarts and that sense of urgency, knowing that there could very well be a caution before you even hit the next 500 feet.
Oh, they were hairy, all right. No pun intended. Yeah, you have to, I mean, I was just blocking. I was just trying to, get to the bottom, and the way the track is, there's no high side basically, and even if you go high, if you don't clear the driver low, you'll just get freight train. And it happened to me when I lost the lead early on, and the field was already spread out, and I still went back to like 5th. So I got lucky there with the last yellow, because they were 2 wide under me, and I was 3 wide up top, and I was about to lose like 7 spots in the last lap, and the yellow bailed me out. So yeah, it's a shame that the caution came out on that long green flag run, because it kind of ruined the race, But it's sometimes you get lucky, and third it's not bad at all.
First 2 races, 20th in points, and then you finish the race here in 3rd. How does this swing the momentum heading to Texas in 2 weeks?
Well, Vegas was very confusing for us. I was running 30th around people who I normally race with in the top 5, and I had no idea what was going on. And so it's good that we showed up with more speed here, and should be good for the future races as well. And yeah, Texas, 2 wins there, so looking to be competitive and see if we can get a win over there.
This team was competitive this evening with you and Byron running up front. Let's talk about the team and the names that are on the side of this race car. Who makes it happen at Slip Angle, and who's on the car along for the ride with the number 2 team?
Yeah, there's a lot of people on the car. Main Performance PC Sip pedals, which should be out soon, within the next few months. So looking forward to those. ProGeek Consulting still in the car from last year. ProGeek had the front row there, so I'm pretty sure Matt was happy. NewBlogHosting.com, DisabledRacers.com, StemSimX. Also got to thank Peak for coming on board. That's huge for this series. iRacing. Everybody over at Slip Angle for all the hard work. Today before the race, I did more laps and I lost count. And everybody over at Swan for the spotting and the pterodactyling. So thanks to those guys, and I'm sure this broadcast will be entertaining to watch.
I heard Jordan Hightower was chasing Blue Jays halfway through that race.
He was doing something.
That's Ray Alpala coming home position number 3 this evening. I believe Joe Cortez has caught up with our 4th place finisher, driver of the 01, Tyler Hudson.
Driving the 01 Peak Antifreeze machine tonight, Tyler Hudson, as we get him all wired up here real quick. Here we go. All right, Tyler Hudson now joining us. Your defending champion, finishing 4th tonight. And Tyler, if you had those extra 2 laps, if you had the different laps that were under yellow, would we have seen a different outcome for you in the 01 team?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say because we didn't get those, so it didn't play out. But I mean, we definitely had a good car. The Peak Antifreeze motor oil car was really fast. Got to thank the guys that won up, of course. They put a lot of time into it. We were good last week during the NIS series, and it carried over this week. And I mean, it was a good run. 4th. I think that's the 7th top 5 in a row besides Daytona. And so everything's clicking still. Everything's good. Just it's frustrating this week and last week to finish 4th and 5th when you feel like you had a car better than that, but it could have been a lot worse too. So, we'll just keep plugging away.
Tyler, how intimidating is it going into, in this case, literally a brand new track, one that has never been run competitively at this level, and be expected to compete at the highest performance level? How intimidating is that going into this race this week?
It's pretty intimidating, but fortunately, NIS, which is kind of like a sister series to this series, the feeder or whatever you want to call it, they were there last week and ran like 4 races, so there was plenty of time to get accustomed to the track, get comfortable, get the setups dialed in, and that helped out a lot. If you would have just threw us out there cold turkey, just first race that's ever been done on this service, it'd probably be a whole lot more intimidating. But it's a fun track. It's pretty challenging. I've kind of struggled there. I felt like I struggled there compared to my teammates and everything, and just finally started to get it figured out toward the latter part of last week, and luckily it carried over into tonight where we were fast once again. And but I really love the track. iRacing did a great job with it. It's a fun track, a little bit different than some of the other tracks on here. It's challenged going down those really, really fast straightaways with flat corners, and it makes it really fun coming off the corners. It's quite a challenge.
Tyler came into this race just outside the top 20 in points. Obviously, this will give you a nice little boost. Is this the boost you guys have been looking for to try to defend the championship this year?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think I think we moved up to 10th, which after finishing 40th after getting in a wreck at Daytona, to be 10th 2 more races later is pretty awesome. I think Nick and Ray were kind of in the same boat, and they're both in the top 10, I believe. So, I mean, it definitely feels good. It feels like you got the momentum back that you felt like you had last year, and Yeah, I mean, it's too early to be thinking about points really, but it's kind of not either. But we'll just try to keep doing what we're doing.
Next week, or sorry, 2 weeks time at Texas. What are your thoughts after this big top 5 finish?
I'm pretty excited for Texas. It's more like a track like the last few we've been running. This one was kind of an oddball compared to the tracks like Vegas and Homestead and some of those tracks we've been running. This was it's a little bit different, and I felt like we were off just a little bit compared to where we were at Vegas. And I think Texas is going to be more in our wheelhouse, kind of like Vegas was. So I'm looking forward to it. We should have another strong car, and hopefully get another top 5, maybe a win.
Tyler, who makes it work for you, buddy?
Just those guys that went up, man. They work really hard. They're a lot of fun to be around. Travis Sollenberger's my spotter and kind of crew chief during the races, and he makes some great calls, man. He's never steered me wrong, and it's so fun to have a spotter like that you can trust 100% and never question what he does. And you know, Joe Holt, David Cater, Jared Crawford, they all work really hard on the setup, and the rest of the team does too. They put in a lot of practice, and those guys got to thank Peak for being on the board this year. A lot of cool stuff going on with Peak in sim racing and outside of sim racing for me personally. So that's pretty cool. I'm glad they could be on the car for this year. And iRacing for putting that great track out and letting us do this for fun. And looking forward to next week.
Defending champion Tyler Hudson finishing in 4th tonight. Tyler, good run. We'll see you in 2 weeks at Texas.
Thank you. See you guys.
That's Tyler Hudson. Tony Stevens caught up with our fifth place finisher, Brad Davies.
I have, and Brad, it's been a while since we've talked to you after one of these races. What's it feel like to actually be in the top 5 and have a car capable of winning one of these races and in contention most of the night?
Well, it feels pretty good. I'm not sure about having a car to be in contention to win, but you know, every once in a while we get lucky and kind of back into a good finish, and you know, it's a good feeling. It's nice to be, you know, in the top 5.
Sure, it has to be. The restarts at the end of the race seem to be the big story. You had a couple of near misses and close calls. We've asked a few drivers, but from where you were sitting, what was it like trying to deal with all of that, knowing that literally your race hung in the balance?
Yeah, I mean, I had a little bit of trouble on those final restarts, just timing the restarts. You know, I never could figure out exactly when the leader was going to go, and a lot of the guys around me, Ray and Tyler in particular, did a really good job of timing the restarts, and you know, I had to put the block on Tyler there at the end, but he was still able to get around me, so the restarts were not, you know, going in my favor at the end, but still managed to come home in top 5.
As long as it all works out, I guess that's all that really matters. Now, with this performance, mind you, we're only 3 races in, but you do move from the abyss to somewhere in the waters where you can actually see sunlight, like 36th to 23rd. Does it give you any hope now moving forward to Texas and Richmond and the upcoming few races?
Yeah, I mean, not really worried about the points, just kind of taking it, you know, one race at a time. Would probably actually be a little bit higher. Got caught up in a wreck at Daytona with, you know, like 2 or 3 laps to go, or maybe it was like 5 or 6, so I would, you know, would probably be sitting a little bit higher, but just trying to take it one race at a time and, you know, stay out of trouble. That's my main thing this season.
Probably a pretty good set of goals, I would say. Everything else will take care of themselves at that point. Brad, you don't always see a name on the side of that car, but I know there's a lot of people that do make it happen for you. Who are they?
Well, I got to thank Mike McConty and Brian Schoenberg and Tom Lewandowski that have been helping out with setups the last few weeks and have helped me come up with, you know, ideas to incorporate into my own setups, and I think we've been working really well together, so I got to give a big thanks to them, and also, you know, iRacing and of course Peak for coming on board this year. Haven't got a chance to thank them yet. This is their first season with us. Pretty excited about that and looking forward to what they can bring for the future.
I think it's going to be something big for you, I'm sure. So that's Brad Davies. He finishes 5th here tonight, guys. Man, oh man, what a night. That's about all we can say about it, Tim.
And it shuffles the point standings as well, as Tony mentioned. Only 3 races in, but it's an 11-point lead for Kenny Humpy on Brandon Cattell. Danny Hansen, Byron Daly, Peter Bennett, your top 5. Your winner from this evening moves from 25th in the standings all the way up to 8th. Tyler Hudson moves from 22nd in the standings all the way up to position number 10 when all is said and done this evening. And then you got a couple of other guys. Hey, you got Brian Day in the top 11 in the standings. He is a pro driver. He's had to qualify into every single race so far, and he's sitting not too bad right now in position number 11 in the standings. Ray Alfala is in 7th. And Jake Sturgis won a race earlier this season. He sits in the 9th place position as we head to Texas in 2 weeks. Gentlemen, Tony Stevens, final thoughts here. As Ray mentioned, there was a lot of green flag running in the first 2/3 of this race, and then the bottom fell out, and we had a bunch of cautions, and at the end, it's Nick Ottinger standing tall.
Yeah, pretty much that was it. We started out with a race to just set the field for a couple of sprint races at the end. That's about all it amounted to, but, kind of a welcome change. We're so used to seeing things get strung out at a place like California, and I think it just shows how well iRacing really nailed this place whenever they recreated it for the virtual realm. But we saw guys leaning on each other, using the bumper, getting hooked together. I mean, you could really race your heart out here, and all the while on the edge of control, and the best driver and the best setup car eventually were going to win the race. Tonight, it was Nick Ottinger. I don't think there's any question that he probably was the best car over the course of the night, but the last 25 or 30 laps, it was a free-for-all, and the gutsier you were, there's a good chance the higher you finished in the running order. It took some guts to make some moves, but that's what we like to see. And going to Texas, a little bit different type of racetrack. It doesn't reward those chances quite the way that AutoClub Speedway does, but I think it, too, is going to be one heck of a show once we get into a rhythm and see how that race plays out as well. Because sister track to Las Vegas, that race was a dandy, even though it came down to fuel mileage. Texas should be no different. Should be fun to watch, Joe.
Well, more importantly, Tony, Texas is going to be fun to watch for the same reason that's made Daytona and Las Vegas so much fun to watch in this 2014 campaign. For the first time ever, we are really seeing the surge of the pro drivers. We are seeing the changing of the guard happen here. Now, we said that a little bit last year, but there was a lot of the same names up front battling for that top position. Now you have a lot more parity. You have a lot more talent in this mix. You've got a lot more drivers who are all that hungry, looking for position, looking for wins. 3 races in, 3 wins. One of them's been a Pro Series driver, one of them's a brand new driver, and only one's been a driver that's won in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series so far this year. So as we get ready to go to Texas in 2 weeks' time, I will leave you guys with this thought. The guard is changing. The guard is changing rapidly, and these guys are what you're seeing right here is the new face, the new future of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series.
And I'm sure there's going to be more of that reminiscing as we go through this season with the changing of the guard and what have you as we go through this 2014 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze season. It's going to be exciting as we head to Texas in 2 weeks, then Richmond, and then the Pocono Raceway for the next 3 rounds. You want to talk about a diverse round of racetracks. It's coming up here in rounds 4, 5, and 6. You'll want to tune into iRacing Live, PSRTV, Nesson, and the Motor Racing Network, among the other partners. WCS.iRacing.com is the microsite for the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series and also the road version of this series as well. That is WCS.iRacing.com for all the information on both major series here on the iRacing service. As we mentioned, 2 weeks' time, Texas Motor Speedway, round number 4, the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. Kenny Humpy will lead us into battle as the point leader. That's going to do it for us here this evening. So for Ian Bushing, Zach Stanko, Matt Racing, Kid Thomas, Chuck Johnson, Joe Cortez, Tony Stevens, my name is Tim Terry saying we'll see you in 2 weeks' time when we say let's go racing from the Texas Motor Speedway. Keep the hammer down, and we'll see you at the track.
What's inside Peak Antifreeze? 65 years of experience in hot and cold protection. From an independent, family-owned business that's never been afraid to give you exactly what's right for your engine and your wallet. Peak. Run true.
This is where it gets difficult. This is where your name's on the line, everything's on the line. You get that one chance to go out there and put down your best performance with the most amount of pressure.
You got to take this race car, this whole new group of people, go to the racetrack, somehow impress them, and oh, by the way, you got to do it now. It's now or never.
First thing that went through my mind was like, no way.
Just be real important to try to figure out how to keep the tires under him and run a smart 150 laps.
They might bump him around a little bit, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Everybody should enter next year's contest because you never know what could happen, man. You can come out here and run top 5 in your first K&N West race. So I'm so psyched right now. This is incredible.